mainly by small investors, will be the key to his success in promoting low-income Kenyans.
We have a program for 5 years to invest 90 billion shillings. 30 billion shillings revolving fund and 12 billion shillings every year. In 5 years, these 2 million farmers, once supported the way I have suggested, they will not only produce enough food for them to eat and get out of hunger, but they will generate a surplus. In total, they will create 500 billion shillings worth of product. From 90 billion, they will create 500 billion. This is the 2 million our competitors want to put on handouts.
Ruto said the money would be made available by cutting back on budget allocations for major projects that end up not helping Kenyans directly. In the education sector, he promised to address the shortage of teachers in the sector, re-evaluate the education curriculum, raise funds for school feeding program, and strengthen higher education by ensuring that all high school students join tertiary institutions.
Another enabler, of course, is education. You agree with me that education is in a crisis. Education, especially higher education, is in a crisis. Most of our universities are struggling. In fact, most of our universities only get maybe 50%, maybe 55% of the money they require to be able to run the programs they run. And as a result, universities have 65 billion shilling debt to NHIF, to NSSF, to pay as you earn. So, in fact, the Auditor General said the other day, all our universities are technically insolvent. That's the sorry state of our universities.
Still on the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto launch, and Deputy President William Ruto has criticized some policies made by the Jubilee government. Ruto also condemned the Kazi Mtaani program aimed at creating jobs for the unemployed youth, further criticizing the recruitment of nurses to work in the United Kingdom, some who left the country recently to ply their trade there.
To say we are in a storm is an understatement. There are not enough white-collar managerial jobs in the public service or the small corporate economy to absorb the hundreds of thousands of young educated Kenyans with middle-class aspirations. It is no longer possible to extinguish their aspirations by failing them in exams. Neither can we continue to throw crumbs at them, such as the Kazi Mtaani, or export a few nurses here and there, expecting that it will stem the tide as we continue with business as usual.
He further dismissed reports that high food prices has been occasioned by global factors, insisting that the Kenyan issue is due to failure by the government agencies to release timed subsidy programs.
The challenge of cost of living is increasing agricultural productivity, period. This whole story about Ukraine and all this is a lost cause.
Meanwhile, Roots Party presidential candidate Professor George Ojakoya unveiled his manifesto to the KICC. The manifesto, dubbed the Freedom Manifesto, addresses 10 major issues, including the legalization and promotion of marijuana as well as snake bites in the country. Ojakoya said if Kenya grows cannabis in just 1 year, the money from the crop can be used to pay off the national debt.
If we grew bank in Nyeri alone, Kenya will have 10% of IMF total cash reserves. In short, we'll never have to borrow a single coin in future. And Kenya will become the richest country in the world. Banki is our next cash crop. It grows widely in Mount Kenya. Question is, if we required the permission of Muzungus, who have now legalized banki, why should we legalize?
Ojakoya says under his leadership, every working Kenyan will be paid every 2 weeks. He stressed that if elected, he would address corruption and said he would create a law for such people to be sentenced to death.
Some of those opponents, let me tell you this, because I have the information, have staffed companies in Dubai to wash money. When the time for hanging comes, I will hang those ones when the laws are there. Tunataka kila mtu atuambie, including myself, ni pesa ngapi uko nayo? Hizi nyumba unaishi ulitoa wapi? Hii magari uko nayo umetoa wapi? Hii watoto wako kila wakati wakiwa wagonjwa naenda ng'ambo unapelekanga namna gani? Hii uongo unatudanganya kila siku, unatudanganya kwa nini?
Ojakoya also proposes to move the capital city from Nairobi to Isiolo. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Assetto. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nyeri.
The following takes place between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us to assert our will.
When the legislators are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi Lokop is Jeshi Lawoko?
I can't say it very well. Well, you need to Jeshi Lokop.
And everyone knows. Okay.
The tail end of the week is where we are this morning. Let's find out what's going on the roads. We're looking at outbound on Mombasa Road today, just after Imara Diamond. That slowed down quite some. Not quite sure what's causing this particular traffic. But we'll take a look-see. Onto Huru Highway, into the city, and then out towards Westlands is where it looks like it's going to pile up a little bit here and there today. Shaori Moyo coming off of Jogo Road, going into the city. That slowed down a little bit, but not too bad. We're looking at the rumblings of the traffic tummy this morning. We'll take a look later and see what it looks like, but it looks like it's going to be a packed Friday. It is, however, into a weekend, the first weekend of the new month. Let's take a look in a short while. Talk to us, guys. Where are you? What you doing? SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us then. Let's keep things moving this Friday.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
There's a song like that about how they've left me alone. Good morning. I'm just here by myself. 2 gentlemen that yesterday I was with. Yesterday, I don't know what happened, but this morning I came and I found that I was alone. So, misery loves company, they say. I'm about to sing a song. There's a song even. Nobody knows the troubles I've seen. Nobody knows my sorrow. Eric, good morning. You have come? Oh, you're not talking, Abby? You look for me, you won't find me. So just, if I were you, open my mouth and start talking to me now.
Aya, Ndu, you've been talking to yourself since what time? 5:30.
I've just been alone.
Why are you talking to yourself, Ndu?
These are signs of things to come, but there's no Allah.
Why do you talk to yourself?
There's no problem.
Are you okay?
There's no problem. I'm okay.
Are you okay?
I'm very fine.
Iko shida?
Hakuna.
Ni nini mbaya?
Hakuna.
Ni baridi imezidi?
Wapi?
Why you... What's up?
You people are... what do they... If we do direct translation, you're following me down. You people are following me down. Got another one. He's even dancing. See, eh?
Hey.
No Allah.
How you doing, Ndu?
Mimi, I'm fine. I'm thirsty. Like thirsty for water. I want to drink water.
Right.
I want to drink water.
What else is happening? You sit down and talk.
Thirsty.
Thirsty.
Don't think it's crazy.
I know.
Ndu is thirsty.
I want to drink water. Please, let us just arrange this narrative properly before
you're
things start
thirsty.
going mad. I want to drink water.
Okay.
Ednah.
Mpe maji anywe. Remember that pambio? Nipe maji ninywe, maji ya uzima. Yesu akasema, nimeshayapata.
I can't help you there. Sorry. I just want to drink water. That's my problem.
Songing or sing?
I just want to drink water.
Anyway. Siti?
Yes.
How are you today?
Actually, I am very well, thank you.
Actually, right?
Actually speaking. You know, one of the things that one shouldn't do early in the morning is find an interesting book to read. Because you will forget you're supposed to come to work.
Guy.
Sometimes you pause and wonder, it's very quiet.
Oh.
Then look at
5:30 in the morning.
No.
Why am I
You haven't
not
looked at the time.
usually here?
Then you look at the time and you say, wow.
Why am I not usually here at this time?
Yes. My friend.
What was one reading this morning?
One was reading a historical novel. Yes. The historical novel on the history of the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh, yes. Wow. It sounds really great reading. Morning.
What?
It sounds really interesting.
Yes. You see, everything that is in the form of a tablet or it's in the form of some lotion or it's in the form of some some fluid injection, whatever it is, apart from just the chemical concoction that comes into it and the manipulation, it was at some point a living creature. Science being what it is, then decided to reformat it, rechange it, and with it, it changed humanity. Our whole attitude and our way of looking at things changed. And it keeps changing. To the point where human beings believe that if they keep going at it, they can live eternally. How death surprises them. You actually can't.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And you, Ndu? You well?
Me? Yes, thanks.
Apart from the thirst.
I said I want to drink water. I can see you from far. Omo. I know.
So,
how are you, though? How are you doing this morning?
I am not thirsty. I'm well.
Oh, wow.
I don't mind water, though.
Okay.
Or anything else that quenches thirst.
Water or living water?
Water of living.
Water everywhere. Huh?
Of life. Welcome to the conversation, everybody. We will have some guests this morning. Number one is somebody who wants to be a governor of Kiambu County, Mwende Gatabaki. She is an independent candidate. She's going for this, and she's going to come and talk to us about the gender dynamics on the campaign trail. She will be joining us at 8 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, we will have somebody who is just facing tribulations left, right, and center. So yesterday, the Commission for University Education wrote to the IEBC and said, this man, Johnson Sakaja, whatever he presented to you as a degree certificate, forget it. Don't exist. We don't recognize it.
Man. When it rains, it pours, man.
Yeah. No sooner had he this,
when?
Than he don't. Now, so he'll be coming here to tell us, okay, so what's happening? Did you actually go to university? When? What did you study? So why aren't you providing the CUE and everybody else with the documents that they're asking for? What's the issue? Johnson Sakaja will be here with us at 7 o'clock to talk about this and also to talk about his campaign for Nairobi gubernatorial seats. In the meantime, COVID-19.
Kenya's positivity rate is at 13.1%. It's 404 new cases from a sample size of 3,075. A little over 10% of that sample size then turned out to be positive. 0 recorded deaths, 252 recoveries, bringing Kenya's total number of COVID cases since inception to 333,694. All right, Ministry of Health continues to say, come on, guys, come out and get vaccinated. Do what you need to do to keep safe. Let's look at what's happening with COVID in other parts of the world. We're looking at 552,586,175 cases of COVID. What else could be happening? Children around the world are getting vaccinated. Some parents are, of course, taking issue with it, but many countries then have unveiled that this needs to happen. Israel is another one of those. The health ministry has unanimously backed vaccines for children over 6 months. So long as you're 6 months and above as a child in Israel now, the Ministry of Health says, please go ahead and get it. An advisory panel on infectious diseases voted unanimously Thursday to recommend approving the COVID-19 vaccine for children between the ages of 6 months and 5 years. The decision will now move to the Ministry of Health Director General, Nachman Ash, for final approval before the shots can be rolled out to that age group. But they're saying that, look, we need to protect children as well as adults. And around the world, we're seeing the same conversation taking place in the UK, Canada. The US, of course, rolled it out for children above 5 years of age. But Israel is one of the countries with then the lowest age for then approval at 6 months. So it'll be interesting to see if this is actually rolled out. Then it will join the list of other vaccinations that children get with your normal measles, mumps, rubella, and, hepatitis, etc., which is what they're aiming for. China still retains its zero COVID policy. Doesn't matter what it is. They're saying we're not going for lower cases. We're going for zero cases. That's what COVID looks like around the globe.
17 minutes after 6, live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE, YouTube and Facebook. If you're online, do the thing that we do, and then we'll do the thing that we do after we take a look at the weather forecast. Good morning.
Spice up your life.
Cloudy conditions at 14 in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 21 and lows of 13. It's partly cloudy at 13 in Nakuru. Highs of 25 and lows of 13 today. It's a cloudy morning in Nyeri as well at 12. We'll see highs of 20 and 23 will be the high in a clear Eldoret, currently at 11. It's 22 degrees and raining in Mombasa. We'll see highs of 27, highs of 28 in a wet Malindi as well, currently at 24. At 17 degrees, it's mostly clear in Kisumu, highs of 27. We'll see highs of 27 as well in Kakamega, where it's mostly cloudy at 15. All right, Kampala is clear at 17. It'll go to highs of 26 today. And we'll see highs of 29 in rainy Dar es Salaam this Friday morning at 22. Slightly warmer today in Johannesburg. It's 5 degrees. We'll see highs of 15 and lows of 3. And it's raining in Lagos at 24, highs of 28. 31 will be the high in a clear Kinshasa, currently at 20. Light rain into Friday afternoon in Beijing. It'll go to highs of 30 and lows of 22. And it's 10 degrees and cloudy in Paris, highs of 23. 22 will be the high in a cloudy London at 14. And New York Thursday night is 24 degrees and clear. Coming into Friday, we will see highs of 30 and lows of 22.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Mornings. 19 minutes after 6. Good morning.
Francis is tuned in from Mombasa this morning and says, good morning. Willie is tuned in from Kitale. And Umazi, I still don't know. Umazi. I don't know, man. I don't know. He says, like you, I can be Nigerian by choice. Something tells me that you already are. How can the boys do this to you, though? Imagine they left me to sing Sorrow by myself. Happy new month to you too. Matilda Make is tuning from South Africa this morning and says, good morning. Patrick is tuned in from the Likoni Ferry. Kennedy Ogondo says, the promises of Ruto are like promises that get bottled water to the planet Mars. Wow. Mm-hmm. Happy this morning. Well, good to know.
Doable, right?
Well, I guess so.
Right.
Right. Washira says, good morning. This first Friday of July, Gishogo is tuned in. Robert Mbogo is tuning from Mombasa this morning. Okay. Colin says, good morning from Eldoret. Happy new month on this fruitful day. That's Evelyn Kavaya. Celestine Nabangi is tuned in from Diani. George Mashuki tuning from Kasarani. And good morning to everybody else who's tuned this morning. Thanks for joining us. Karibuni Sana.
Welcome, City.
Yes.
The proverb.
Last proverb from the country of Mozambique. I left it for last because I found it particularly interesting. You cannot dance well with one leg.
No?
Well, try. What you'll do is hop. So if that is your dance move, then you'll hop well.
You cannot dance well.
Not that you, yes.
With one leg.
It's not that you can't dance, you can. But not well.
You'll do a jig of sorts.
You cannot dance well with one leg.
Though, if you give it sufficient thought, you find you actually can. Because the understanding here is that to dance, you must move your legs.
That's the thing.
No, you can dance.
You
moving,
can dance.
You can
seated.
just moving your head.
And you can
See,
dance.
I'm demonstrating, as you can see.
For inspiration.
And then you can also move your hands. And your shoulders. So, you don't really need your leg. Not really.
Dance.
You just need it to stand.
So you're disagreeing with the proverb?
But even then, no, I don't. I'm just adding an addendum to the proverb.
You cannot dance well with one leg. Let's look at the newspaper headlines. www.standardmedia.co.ke. There's a story that's being promoted on the digital platform today. Wenga Musica regroups. You know that word, group?
Yes.
Wenga Musica. The band rocks Kinshasa after Mpiana and Werason bury the hatchet.
Man, they play some lovely music.
Werason. And what is the name of Mpiana? Is it Babi Mpiana?
Yes.
Babi Mpiana.
Those guys have been on the scene for a while.
They keep breaking, Wenga Musica, BCBG. Wenga Musica, what?
BZB, BBZ, then ZB.
Okay.
Surely. Hiya, they've regrouped. What's in the papers?
Quite a lot. So if we're looking at a spread of the front pages, Daily Nation, Ruto's pledge of the different things that he says he wants to do, and there's billions of billions, 250 billion agriculture, 250 billion housing and settlement, 200 billion healthcare, 250 billion MSMEs, 200 billion infrastructure, 40 billion a digital superhighway. Same page is Wajakoya saying he's going to shut down the SGR. Meanwhile, while you're looking at infrastructure and move the capital to Isiolo. Looking on the front page of the Standard, my plan for Kenya is what Ruto is talking about. And so let's look a little bit into that story. While Bang tops Wajakoya's manifesto, 250 billion shillings is what Deputy President William Ruto would plan to spend on investment in security and agriculture, food security and agriculture. Every year, 50 billion on small businesses, 250,000 affordable houses every year. Set up a settlement fund to buy land for landless families. A National Hospital Insurance Fund will be mandatory for every Kenyan. 6 new level 6 hospitals and 20,000 healthcare jobs. 100,000 kilometers of fiber optic network. Recruit more teachers to bridge the gap within 2 years. Double school feeding program. Open for lower cadre officers to serve in home counties from age 50. So he put out quite something yesterday. He said in a grand launch of the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto at the Kasarani Indoor Arena, DP William Ruto spells out his vision anchored by investment in agriculture to create jobs and reduce the cost of living, and priority support for traders, housing, health, ICT and the creative economy if he wins next month's poll. He says we are in a debt hole. Our borrowing now stands at 9 trillion shillings. That our public finances are not in order is something that we can no longer deny. So it goes into details about the different things that he said he would do. During his launch, he said that the expenditure policies will also be reorganized to cut wastage and promote value for money. He promised the introduction of zero-based budgeting to ensure justification for all expenditures items in the budget. He said this would insulate the agriculture sector from low-value and state-captured spending programs, while the public-private partnerships will be accelerated to lessen the burden on the budget, especially in value addition and agro-processing. He said agriculture is the largest sector of the economy, contributing half of Kenya's GDP, a quarter directly and another quarter indirectly. 2/3 of Kenyans derive all or part of their incomes from agriculture. So this is why he says they're going to put a lot of attention there. So, I mean, there was quite a lot that he focused on through the day. And it seems that, not one sector of society was left out in terms of what he promises to do should he become president next month. Okay?
The fact that we are now having conversations where people are actually coming out to present manifestos, even though we don't have accountability mechanisms anchored in these manifestos, I think it's a positive move. If you think about the elections before 2013, people would just go around the country saying what they want to say, and no formal document that says this is the plan, this is the agenda. Since 2013, we've started seeing the manifestos coming out from the various political groupings and the presidential campaign teams. I think it's a good thing, because this is why we are able to sit back and ask, you guys promised Stadia. You guys promised
laptop,
Wi-Fi. You promised laptop. It's because there was something that was actually written and presented at a formal setting. It's a good thing. Now, the next things that are going to happen is when you start demanding for accountability, we'll also start demanding for implementation plans. So what do you want to do by when? Don't just tell us, things. I can say, for example, Ruto is saying within the first 12 months, the two-third gender rule will be passed in Parliament. When we start now coming into timelines. When are you saying you're going to do this? When are you going to establish this hustler fund? Within how long? What are the mechanics for it? We are getting there. Slowly, but actually not slowly.
It's quick.
Really, really, really quickly.
Actually, you are right, Eric. This thing has moved swiftly. From the last elections that we had, the conversations we're having right now are different. They're actually very different. The word I like using is revolutionary. Because this mantra that has been chanted for the longest time about the citizens understanding that they are the bosses, they are the employer, and holding their workers to account. You may think it is taking root slowly. No. That one step is not slow. It's forward movement. And we are seeing it. All you require is to hear of it happening in one place, in Langata, in South. That's all you need. That's it. All you need are the people of Kericho deciding to donate to the governor of their choice. You don't need 10 such situations. One. That's it. Now, people are competing and fighting with trying to say the same thing in different words. I will give this amount. I will build this. But they're writing it down. And they even come and say, within the first 100 days. So you're right.
This is what I'll do.
They're saying it. They're giving timelines, which means the accountability factor just got clearer.
Indeed.
It starts getting there. So when you come back to us and you say, you know what, we'll ask you, so you promised, why didn't you deliver?
What happened?
How far are we? It becomes something that we shall hold them to account. The fact that you can see we have 4 presidential candidates, we know 3 have presented to us their manifesto. Everybody's looking at, okay, so Maura Waihige, what's your plan? What's your plan,
If you don't want to say it, give us a written form.
The
written variety of your plans.
We can deal with it. Wajakoya, okay, so it's not just about campaign. You come and explain to us, what exactly do you mean when you say legalize marijuana? What exactly do you mean? What's the case for it? And he's presenting a case for it. You could argue that that case may be flawed and all, but there are actually those who say it makes some sense.
When you say it and it's written, you give someone the opportunity to actually now understand it greater at their own leisure. The things we hear, we forget. Something you read, you will forget, but you can go back to it. There's a reference point. And that reference point is important. Because these promises that are being made are huge.
They're big.
Yet, if I look at this presidency, the 10-year term of this particular presidency, 3 things come to mind. This presidency is not an easy road to travel, number one. Because at some level, when I listen to politicians speak, when I listen to the president and the deputy, when they were promising, they sounded so sincere.
You believe them?
No, I didn't. But they sounded very sincere. And it's not that I didn't believe them because I thought they were liars. It's because I know that converting intentions into deeds is a very difficult thing because you are juggling issues that pertain to the entire country.
Yep.
It is not an easy task. You may think it is easy before you get there. Then you get there, you realize, God Almighty, you mean this is what it takes? Their interests. You're juggling interests of the people who supported you. You're trying to find, no, it is not an easy part. The second thing that I also realize is that personal interest often takes precedence over these promises that are made. So, yes, they intend to fulfill the promises, but there are some personal issues they want to sort out, and unfortunately, these ones take precedence. So the promises take second, third, fourth, fifth position.
Indeed.
And before you know it, 10 years are over.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Kaboom. Kenya's biggest conversation takes a break now to take a look at the traffic. What's happening on the roads? The Communications Authority is doing a lot of work. It's ensuring that we have connectivity across the country. It's ensuring that using the Universal Access Fund, people all over the country have at least some means of communication via mobile. They have access to news and information via radio and TV. They have access to all this. It's thanks to the Communications Authority, connecting your world.
Wait. Have you seen the message I've sent you? I always knew they can never be trusted, these guys.
Okay, I've seen it, but where did you get that information from?
Someone forwarded me the message and they say they got it from a very reliable source. I can never lie to you.
Okay, but what are these sources?
Sasa, now you want to interrogate me and I'm just forwarding as received. Wey, majameneni, don't shoot the messenger. Me, I'm telling you.
How do you separate the truth from the lies and facts from opinion? The election season is a period where violence, votes, and many other incidents can be influenced or triggered by a news item. When was the last time you questioned the validity of the news you saw on social media, WhatsApp, tabloids, or blogs? Where do you go to fact-check what you see or hear? Fumbua is a groundbreaking collaborative journalism project designed to tackle misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation ahead of the Kenyan elections in 2022. For more information and updates, follow Fumbua Kenya on Facebook, at Fumbua KE on Twitter, or fumbua.ke on Instagram.
Standard Group's Farm Kenya initiative is the umbrella entity for all agriculture-related channels, activities and investments. The media platforms under the Farm Kenya initiative include the Smart Harvest Weekly Pullout in the Saturday Standard, KTN Farmers TV, a 24-hour agribusiness TV station, Maisha Kilimo, a weekly agriculture show on Radio Maisha, AgriTalk on SpiceFM's morning show The Situation Room, and Grind na Agribiz on Vibes Radio morning show Morning Vibes. Find us online at www.farmers.co.ke, an integrated website that creates and aggregates agri-content, hosts a digital marketplace, and wide range of agri-data. Other platforms include specialized events such as the annual Mkulima Expo, quarterly Farmers Kenya Breakfast, and dedicated social media platforms at Farm Kenya 254. Farm Kenya, working to secure your growth. Are you looking for employment and are tired of sending job applications without any response? Gone with no response? Tarmacking is now a thing of the past thanks to Skiza. Dial *811 *1 *21 hash and subscribe to a ringback tune that reflects your qualifications only for 1.5 bob a day. And your callers will know your credentials and send you opportunities they come across. Set the tone with Skiza. Africa is rapidly growing, and Merck Foundation is raising awareness about different social and health issues through fashion and art with purpose. Our Africa TV show on KTN Home will talk about issues that matter to you, such as diabetes awareness, ending child marriage, supporting girl education, and breaking infertility stigma, among other topics affecting the continent. Join Merck Foundation CEO Senator Dr. Rasha Kelej every Saturday at 5:30 p.m. as she talks to fashion designers, singers, and other personalities from across Africa. Only.
All right, building up in certain parts of the city, looking at a little bit on the Thika Superhighway, coming past the Utali Drift out into the city centre, and we're looking at the Pangani Underpass, which has the most traffic right now. Muthaiga Square also doing that thing right now. Kiambu Road not looking too bad, likely to pick up in a very short while. Outer Ring has also picked up quite some. It doesn't look too bad on Juja Road until you cross over that Juja Road Outer Ring intersection. Then you're getting it into the city with some traffic. Kangunda Road doesn't look bad at all, getting into Outer Ring and then out towards the city. We're going to see a build-up on Langata Road, which has already begun, but likely things are going to pick up after 7 o'clock. Let's know what's going on with you. We've already seen an accident that happened at the Pangani footbridge. 2 vehicles, it doesn't look too pretty, so approach with caution, and then also just be careful on the streets this morning as much as you can. Visibility again low this morning, so let's watch out for that. Let's talk on SpiceFM, KE on Twitter.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Mornings done right.
24 minutes to 7 Kenya's biggest conversation. So, you've heard about the gangs that have been terrorizing residents of Nakuru, right?
Yes.
This has become such a big issue that the Interior CS, Fred Matiang'i himself, went to Nakuru and he went and made changes to the top command of the police in the county. Took in the Kasarani OCPD, Peter Mwanzo, promoted him, and now he's the county police commander for Nakuru. And he told him, you know what, I need you to deal with gangs. First of all, there's a gang calling itself Confirm that's believed to be behind a spate of murders and robberies in the area. Hey, now, it's also linked to drug trafficking. Mwanzo will not sleep. He has come to work. Those confirmed criminals have called him here. We are here with Mwanzo to confirm that. That's what Matiang'i said at a meeting in Bahati. The first task given to Mr. Mwanzo is to hunt down the criminals linked to the murder of 3 women in Mawanga Estate in separate incidents reported between June 15th, 21st, and 24th. These criminals have made us appear like we are stupid. We shall deploy unprecedented fire and force. Let no one come to lecture me about rights, human rights. I will deal with them. His statement telling activists to keep off the hunt for the criminals, citing their absence and silence during the killings, points to a looming radical operation to weed out the gangsters. The person who was the head of police in Nakuru County, Beatrice Kiragori, who had only served there for slightly just over a year, has been brought to Nairobi, and she will act as the deputy regional commander for Nairobi County. For the region, right? Now, the issue of this gangs and how they just emerge and they become terrorists right there in the full glare of Ngao officers and police is something that even Matiang'i asked. So how do we actually have a gang that is so organized that then goes to this level of killing people wantonly like this, and we are unable to get them?
No, I don't think they're unable to get them. No, that's not really it. If you have a gang that's in a community and they seem to be invisible, it means they're part and parcel of that community. People know them, and there's a fear factor. Should you point a finger in their direction, you may lose your life. They are known. In a village setting, in a community setting, the thieves are known. The night runners are known.
They are.
People know their members. These people are young. They come from families. Families are known. You cannot tell me that they are unknown. They are known. The question is, those who know about it, what is it about this gang that makes them have the impunity they have? That's the question. And it isn't one thing. And changing the police at the top, yes, it may bring some wanted change. But again, the question that we keep asking in the studio is, can you understand, at least try to understand, why is it that we seem to be seeing these criminal activities among young people increasing in the country. At the coast, we have them. We're now saying Nakuru has them. Nairobi has them. Any major town has them.
What's going on?
They don't live somewhere apart. They don't live somewhere you can't find them. They live within the communities.
Right here.
What is the hand of politicians in these kind of things?
It's never very far away from it. Politicians, wannabe elected leaders, it's never far from it. Because many of these fellows form part of their goon squads. The people they hang out with, the people they send to harass the opponents, their opponents, the people they send to dismantle and disrupt meetings. Yes. A gang cannot grow and become this way inclined unless there is someone who is supporting them. Yes.
You know, it's one of those things that you ask yourself, so what exactly is happening? Several police forces have been deployed to the county since the gang emerged, and it's one of the major reasons for the shake-up in the leadership of the County Security Committee. In the past two months, the former county police commander, Beatrice Kiragori, had led sting operations on the gang in Kivumbini and Bondeni slums, forcing the gang to flee to Bahati and Nakuru West sub-counties. MPs, Nakuru East MP David Gekaria, his Nakuru Town West counterpart Samuel Arama, have recorded statements with the DCI over what they know about these gangs, okay? Bahati MP Kimani Ngunjiri is expected to record a statement on his claims that some leaders are harboring the criminals in his constituency.
Eric, this story of gangs didn't begin yesterday. I remember the coast where I grew up. There was a gang called Congo by Force, and they were linked to a politician of the time called Abdallah Marua. Abdallah Marua was a member of parliament. Abdallah Marua was also the Secretary General of the Seafarers Association. So many people, many members of this gang who, by the way, that was a gang in Kongoea. There was a gang in Majengo. There were gangs, all right? Now, many of these young men became seafarers because when they became, when they got the attention of the law enforcement, they had to disappear. When you go to sea, you know you really disappear for real.
Yes.
Okay? Now, if you met men who were young in their time and were members of Congo by Force and you meet them in the later years, they were broken people. Broken. Because you will grow older, you will have a family, you'll become like other people. But with a past like that, it becomes very, very tricky for somebody to be integrated.
It haunts you.
My friend, you will know the things you did. Okay? I've spoken to people who are members of gang in Kisumu County. Now, what am I saying? I am saying that it is impossible for these gangs to exist without support. It is impossible. I'm repeating it. It is impossible. There has to be a financier. There has to be somebody who enables them to do the things they do and also to offer them protection.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. What story are you looking at, City?
I was looking at the headline of the Standard. Okay? We talked about it briefly and we talked about the promises that are being made. Okay? You know, there is something about planning that is beautiful to listen to. If only everything we listened to could actually be actioned. Those who understand the English language, the proverbs thereof say, if wishes were horses, beggars would fly.
Beggars would ride.
You know, I'm combining two.
Oh, sour.
Yeah, I'm thinking pigs would fly. Beggars would ride to death. Now, if only we as citizens of this country could bolster up sufficient courage to understand that amongst us, we have more former political leaders than we have current ones. People who vied, who are left behind. And very many of them are just simple villagers right now. Meaning all this comes to an end. And when you look at this person who was once your leader, do you associate him with the promises they made, or do you just take him as one among you? The state of these people who eventually retire to their rural homes and become simple villagers is a testimony of what they did in many ways.
Yeah.
Because if they did poll for their communities and ensure that given the times that they were members of parliament, and they used the influence that they had to try and improve the lot of the people who elected them, even in their retirement, their lives would be better.
Indeed.
If you know you have the might to ensure that there are good roads in a community and you never do anything, when you retire and you go back, you'll be using those bad roads.
Absolutely. And you will then be a victim of that unfortunate circumstance.
Which you helped create. Yes. By the same token, when you have a leadership that has overseen the pilferage that is unparalleled in this particular country, amidst all the talks about the things they want to do, many of which were never done and have not been done, you then fail to understand the power of influence, and you wonder why it is young people decide they're also just going to take. What do you think these gangs do? They take by force, and in the event, they kill people. Now, leaders who pilfer from state do the same thing, just that you don't see it. But when monies that are intended to provide healthcare is taken away, you are killing people.
Yep.
When it's intended to improve agriculture and you take it away, you're killing people. Every action that takes away money that's intended for the welfare of the people has the same effect. The only difference is that it's a great number of people. So essentially, as I've said this before, this now becomes a crime against humanity. And you're heading towards genocide. Because if your actions are actually the result of very many people losing their lives, your case is not like these young people who shoot people and strangle people. Yours is worse because you kill them in large numbers. So again, we talk about plans. Political leaders want to be presidents, plans. Let's repeat what we said yesterday. People are dying of hunger. The numbers have gone to 4.1 million right now.
Imagine.
So, fine, we've heard. What are you doing about these people right now?
Today.
Yes, because I am not going to believe a single word any of these people say when you have a problem that is staring at you and you can't address it, and then you want me to believe that you're going to address something in the future. I cannot.
No, I'm sorry. And that's the thing. The thing is, today, the issues that you have today, how are you solving them? There are members of parliament today who are running and asking to be senators or governors. There are people in government who have an opportunity to do something today. There are people who have a higher social status, for example, are able to do something about the issues that we're facing today. Unfortunately, that's the thing, that the promises come for it's aspirational, these promises, but you have a real situation in your hands today, and that should be the litmus test. That's the test that, all right, here we have a situation unfolding, worsening, deepening today. What are you doing about it? Your children can't go to school. You can't feed your population. So many things happening currently.
Yeah.
And then you're telling us about promises for the future. No.
And you want us to believe you.
And then we believe you.
Nope.
It's difficult, man. It's difficult.
It's a tough one. Okay.
All right, so there's been all this hullabaloo about the port of Kenya. So a Dubai investor is in talks with Kenya to develop and run port services, all right? The Dubai Port World, DP World, as we looked at the other day, is considering signing a concession agreement with Kenya to undertake the development, operation, management, and expansion of transport logistics services in Kenya on various components. Concession licenses grant private parties the right to run and operate port terminals and infrastructure such as container freight, dry ports, and storage facilities. The company enjoys a cordial relationship with government around the world by investing in infrastructure. The agreement, if implemented, will see the leading provider of integrated logistics solutions take up concession deals that will give it the power to run at least 4 berths at the port of Mombasa, the 3 Lamu ports completed berths, and 3 special economic zones. The revelation comes barely 3 months after President Uhuru Kenyatta met with the United Arab Emirates delegation led by Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. Nice. The Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi and Deputy Supreme Commander of the UAE Armed Forces. How's that for a title? On the 15th of February, President Kenyatta met the UAE team in Abu Dhabi, where they discussed different ways to rejuvenate the bilateral cooperation for the mutual benefit of the people of the two countries. So, March 1st, Kenya entered into a concession with DP World before the UAE delegation flew to Kenya on the 10th of May to review the status of the implementation of the economic and technical cooperation between the two entities. All right, so, I mean, there's a lot that goes on in terms of details and logistics, but the end of all of this is that there is a likelihood that this company will manage these specific berths that we've talked about.
A deal
so
has
there's a
been
deal on the
signed.
table. The ink is probably already dry on it. And so we're likely to see the rollout of this in a few short weeks. Weeks, not months, guys, weeks.
Can you, folks, do you understand this logic?
What logic?
Which one?
we have a situation where a deal has been signed. Not is being signed.
It's been signed,
okay? This talk by the CS Treasury the other day amounts to the citizenry being hoodwinked because he was giving the impression it's a discussion that is ongoing.
No.
The discussion that is ongoing is how they're going to facilitate or how they're going to move on with what they have signed.
Yes.
Is it so difficult to let the public know? I mean, okay, or are there things the public should not know? So if there's such a, then why don't you just tell us? By the way, folks, when it comes to these things, we will not tell you. You will merely see it. Okay?
We
so
will not
please,
tell you.
we will not tell you. So just don't ask. Oh, okay, well, ask if you like. But again, we will not tell you. Okay?
And in the event that you do ask, we will now tell you, a whole, combination of other things that are irrelevant.
Some cock and bull.
Yeah.
Do you know, when we talk about the port and the issues about the port being given away to some Chinese bank, when you find somebody who understands project financing at the international level and they explain it to you, you realize the port cannot be taken. The port is even not collateral. What is collateral is the earnings of the port.
The operations.
Yes.
Really. The operations.
Not the physical berths and cranes. No.
Where are you going to take it?
What it generates on a daily basis.
Yeah.
That is what you tie up. That's what enables you to give them the money because you know they will be able to pay. What is so difficult about explaining why it is people privatize?
Well, it would appear as though it was a teeth-pulling exercise because they don't seem to ever want to get
what
into
it therefore means is that there are things they would not like to tell us. Meaning, the whole story isn't just about privatization. It's about personal interests.
Well, look, if I'm not telling you something, and I know that I'm in a position where I ought to tell you about what's happening, especially when it belongs to the people of the country, if I'm not telling you, then, speculation is rife. You leave a vacuum, right? Somebody's going to fill it up with speculation, and then one might say they're not far from the truth.
This is a nonsensical situation where leadership in this country has to do with who can pilfer the most. This is nonsensical, and it really must end.
If you think about it, there's huge potential.
Massive.
Ports, Mombasa and Lamu. And I think what the government just needed to do is come out and explain. So this is what can happen.
Yes.
I remember, and I'm trying to think of what particular speech this one was, where the president spoke about the port of Lamu and he said, you know what, guys, we can make the port of Lamu a transshipment port. It'll be just one of 6 in the world. And this is what it can do for us, for our economy. We are strategically located. We have a good port. It's a deep sea port, and it can handle the largest of vessels in the seas currently. We can gain a lot from this. And then we've got the LAPSET projects.
Yes.
If we just open up this, then we become the supplier of everybody around this region. There's huge potential. Explain that to people and then say, now, if we bring this company or a company, one of these 4 companies, this is what they can do. This is what they've done in the other ports.
To realize
in Dubai,
this thing
in
that
Singapore,
I
in
told you about.
whatever.
Yes.
To realize this thing. Now, this particular one in Dubai, we have signed a deal with the government of the UAE, and then explain it, Buana.
We are improving the port of Kisumu because of the centrality of that town, and it will be able to serve the greater East and Central African region.
Yes.
Is it difficult to explain? No. Is it difficult to understand the benefits? No. When there is so much mystery surrounding this thing, personal interests are there. And the terrible thing is, it'll come out.
It will, that's the thing.
It will come out, and people will know. And now, instead of controlling the narrative, you're going to allow people to manufacture and create things that they seem fit or that fit into the particular paradigm of thinking and belief that they have at that moment in time.
One of the most famous investigators in a story, his name was Inspector Clouseau, and he said, tell your story before somebody else gets an opportunity to.
Yes.
Just tell people what's going on, because now the way in which this whole thing will go belly up, you would not have anticipated. Just tell people from the very beginning. There's nothing wrong with that.
Old habits die hard, don't they?
Telling you.
Ngumu sana to kill them. Anyway.
A leader in an African contest, you must try as much as possible to own the whole country.
Yeah.
That's why this democracy interferes with it. You have a good plan. You want to own everything, and then suddenly people
It's
bring
democracy.
democracy and ask you unnecessary questions, forgetting that you're actually the leader.
Here it is. I found it. The final State of the Nation address to Parliament last year. With regards to ports, President Uhuru Kenyatta said, the development of the port of Lamu has been a particular point of pride for my administration. This port was first conceptualized in 1972, 9 years after we gained independence. However, it took 39 years for works on the port of Lamu to commence. Through our futuristic model of big push investments, we've made it a reality in 8 years. The port of Lamu is the only post-colonial seaport in Africa built and financed by an African government. All other major seaports were built in the late 1800s or early 1900s, when most of Africans were under colonial rule. Because of the sheer depth and breadth of this port, it has the potential to reorganize the world's shipping network by becoming a transshipment hub in Africa. Transshipment hubs are ports that allow large vessels that are unable to access destined ports of call due to their size. There are only 5 transshipment hubs globally, and the port of Lamu has the potential to become the 6th. If we remain focused on our development agenda, this will become a reality sooner than later. Imagine.
That's all that needs to happen.
The distance between Shanghai, the manufacturing hub in the east, and Rotterdam, the consumption port in the west, is approximately 12,000 nautical miles, but the distance between Rotterdam and Lamu is only 6,000 nautical miles. If we were to make coastal region an outsourced manufacturing hub for Western products, the port of Lamu has the potential to cut the price of these products by half. And this would be based purely on shipping costs, because the port of Lamu is half the distance to the west compared to the port of Shanghai. Listen
The
to
one
that.
who did this calculation and this...
No one who formulated the speech.
2 heads, 2 brains,
No.
human being,
Kenyan.
planet,
Kenyan.
same.
Take that speech and then make it something that people get to hear
Yes.
more and more and more.
Go out there and explain it.
Yes.
It's-
At every opportunity,
at every
say
opportunity
it.
say, this is our potential. This is what we've done. We have a port. No one else in Africa has built a port since the 1900s, okay? We have built a port. Now, look at Shanghai. Look at Rotterdam. Look, if we have all this land that we have in Lamu County, in Tana River County, all this land, if we created economic zones here, manufacturing hubs along the coast.
Look at what we'd be able to
Look
do.
at what we can do. Bam, bam, bam.
Hush, quiet. No, we haven't signed. We have signed.
Yeah.
Oh, the prince is here. The prince is not here. Come on.
Anyway, conclusion in a minute. The remains of Congo's independence hero and first Prime Minister Patrice Lumumba were buried in Kinshasa yesterday. The interment in specially built mausoleum was marked by a speech by Congo's President Felix Tshisekedi. The ceremony was being held on Congo's Independence Day holiday, marking the day in 1960 when the country became independent from Belgium. Remember what it was? The ceremony for the interment of Lumumba's remains, which is a gold-capped tooth, comes after Belgium returned them to Congo earlier this month. A casket holding the tooth was taken around the country to allow citizens to pay their respects, including at his birthplace in Onalua village in Sankuru province. They took away a tooth.
But of significance, they gutted him.
They tortured this
They
man to
killed
death.
Gutted him and
badly.
then dipped him in acid.
In acid, yeah. And saved his tooth as, God, I don't even know.
The prime leader of Belgium apologized. Yes.
At least finally they get it. Very good morning to you. Welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. Shortly, we are broadcasting on SpiceFM. We are also on Facebook and YouTube. Shortly, hopefully, we'll be having the gubernatorial candidate for Nairobi City County, the Senator of Nairobi County, Johnson Sakaja. Good morning to you. It's now 7 o'clock.
Spice up your life.
The news at the
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The Kenya Kwanza Manifesto launch highlighted the key issues it will address should the formation be voted into office on August 9th. Among the agenda is food security, where Kenya Kwanza presidential candidate William Ruto stated that the agriculture sector will be allocated funds to improve on the country's food security. It's the industry run mainly by small investors would be the key to his success in promoting low-income Kenyans.
We have a program for 5 years to invest 90 billion shillings, 30 billion shillings revolving fund, and 12 billion shillings every year. In 5 years, these 2 million farmers, once supported the way I have suggested, they will not only produce enough food for them to eat and get out of hunger, but they will generate a surplus. In total, they will create 500 billion shillings worth of product. From 90 billion, they will create 500 billion. This is the 2 million our competitors want to put on handouts.
Ruto said the money would be made available by cutting back on budget allocations for major projects that end up not helping Kenyans directly. In the education sector, he promised to address the shortage of teachers in the sector, re-evaluate the education curriculum, raise funds for school feeding program, and strengthen higher education by ensuring that all high school students join tertiary institutions.
Another enabler, of course, is education. You agree with me that education is in a crisis. Education, especially higher education, is in a crisis. Most of our universities are struggling. In fact, most of our universities only get maybe 50%, maybe 55% of the money they require to be able to run the programs they run. And as a result, universities have 65 billion shilling debt to NHIF, to NSSF, to pay as you earn. So, in fact, the Auditor General said the other day, all our universities are technically insolvent. That's the sorry state of our universities.
Still on the Manifesto launch, and Deputy President William Ruto has criticized some policies made by the Jubilee government. Ruto also condemned the Kazi Mtaani program aimed at creating jobs for the unemployed youth, further criticizing the recruitment of nurses to work in the United Kingdom, some who left the country recently to ply their trade there.
To say we are in a storm is an understatement. There are not enough white-collar managerial jobs in the public service or the small corporate economy to absorb the hundreds of thousands of young educated Kenyans with middle-class aspirations. It is no longer possible to extinguish their aspirations by failing them in exams. Neither can we continue to throw crumbs at them, such as the Kazi Mtaani, or export a few nurses here and there, expecting that it will stem the tide as we continue with business as usual.
He further dismissed reports that high food prices has been occasioned by global factors, insisting that the Kenyan issue is due to failure by the government agencies to release timely subsidy programs.
The challenge of cost of living is increasing agricultural productivity, period. This whole story about Ukraine and all this is a lost cause.
Meanwhile, Roots Party presidential candidate Professor Joyo Jacoy unveiled his manifesto at the KICC. The manifesto, dubbed the Freedom Manifesto, addresses 10 major issues, including the legalization and promotion of marijuana in the country. Jacoy said if Kenya grows cannabis in just 1 year, the money from the crop can be used to pay off the national debt.
If we grew bank in Nyeri alone, Kenya will have 10% of IMF total cash reserves. In short, we'll never have to borrow a single coin in future. And Kenya will become the richest country in the world. Banki is our next cash crop. It grows widely in Mount Kenya. Question is, if we required the permission of Muzungus, who have now legalized Bangi, why should we legalize?
Jacoy says under his leadership, every working Kenyan will be paid every 2 weeks. He stresses that if elected, he would address corruption and said that those involved would be sentenced to death.
Some of those opponents, let me tell you this, because I have the information, have staffed companies in Dubai to wash money. When the time for hanging comes, I will hang those ones when the laws are there. Tunataka kila mtu atuambie, including myself, ni pesa ngapi uko nayo, hizi nyumba unaishi ulitoa wapi, hii magari uko nayo umetoa wapi, hii watoto wako kila wakati wakiwa wagonjwa naenda ngambo unapelekanga namna gani, hii uongo unatudanganya kila siku unatudanganya kwa nini?
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
The news on SpiceFM is brought to you by the Communications Authority of Kenya. The Communications Authority of Kenya, opening your world.
Friday morning, visibility is low. We've had a couple of accidents this morning and there have been nasty ones. So let's start off with please be extremely careful wherever it is that you're going this morning. We do not want another one like this. That one that happened on right around the Pangani underpass or rather the Pangani footbridge is yet to be sorted out. So please be really, really careful this morning. It doesn't matter where you're going. We're seeing traffic building up on the Thika Superhighway as well, getting into the city. Not too terrible, but it's going to take us into the CBD without too much of an issue. Coming off Mombasa Road, that looks good. What's going on around Westlands, that looks all right as well. James Gishuru hasn't built up quite yet, but we're likely to see a build up around 7 o'clock going on to Waiaki Way. Don't worry, if things get a bit sticky, use the Red Hill Link Road. It'll get you out quicker than staying. All right, to keep an eye on things, let's circle back about 30 minutes and see what it looks like then. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
It is 7 minutes after 7. Good morning and how are you doing? Welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room, broadcasting on SpiceFM and on YouTube and on Facebook and on www.spicefm.co.ke. The Senator of Nairobi City County is in the studio. Before we welcome him to the show, let's hear the day's proverb. City?
This is our last proverb from Mozambique. You cannot dance well with one leg.
Hey. Are you sure?
Actually, we looked at it and said, actually, they may have a point, but it's not a complete point. You can dance with your head, you can dance with your shoulders, you can dance with your hands. Yeah. And you don't also need to stand to dance.
Yeah, so how do you define dancing well?
Well, now that's taking it to the real level, yes.
Yeah, you could dance well with one leg.
Yes. That is, so long as we all agree that hopping is a form of dancing.
Yeah. We first need to define dancing.
Worse has been done.
The styles we have today, you can dance well with one
leg. Whichever style.
Whichever style.
Senator Johnson Sakaja.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation again.
Asante.
It's good for you to occupy the hot seat.
Always a pleasure being here. As I always say, this is the realest talk in the morning. Always great to be here. It's been a while. You guys haven't invited me. I don't know who you guys have been having.
I've even called you by the name that your father calls you.
Yes, Johnson. How did you know he calls me that?
I'm clairvoyant.
Calls me Sir Johnson.
That's what he calls me.
That's what he calls me.
It's Sir Johnson.
Sir Johnson.
Where?
He used to call me Sir Johnson, the Prime Minister, when I was a kid. And he stuck to that.
Well, he spoke the future.
Yeah, how was it, Joa?
Yeah? That was it.
Yeah, how are you guys doing?
We're well. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Really?
Yeah, 38 days to the election. Geared up, dealing with everything that comes as it comes. I understand it. And very excited about conversations I keep having with the people of Nairobi each and every single day. people's resolve is clear. They want a city of order and dignity, hope and opportunities. And I'm really enjoying this time. In fact, I hope that even after the election, I'll just continue this series of, just listening to the people, hearing them express their aspirations and providing solutions. That becomes then part of the difference.
Have you been campaigning in the last couple of weeks?
Yes.
Or have you just been spending your time going to IEBC, going to court, going to...
Well, of course, that
looking
process...
at your documents.
And my gown and all that. That process is really meant to slow me down. But every single day, I think with the exception of yesterday, I've been out there. Yesterday I had a court thing. Today I have one. And there's this circus, revoke and revoke, don't revoke, revoke, But I understand the game. And, without going into too much details, because it's in court, I said before that it's really a political thing that's happening. The rules are clear for everyone. That before you're cleared by IBC, you take your credentials, what they're asking for now. You take your certificate, you take your transcripts. If it's from a foreign institution, you go to the CUE. The CUE writes to the counterpart organization in whichever country, whichever the Council of Higher Education, which then writes to the issuing university, and then they're supposed to respond back to verify that, yes, the first thing they verify is this institution exists and is certified, is accredited. And then that this document that then has been presented, the institution owns it. And that all happened between the 5th and the 6th of June. Thereafter, I went to IBC. They received it. Then, of course, the circus began. You throw doubts into this person. You say, oh, he said this last time. Why is this not there? Send bloggers all over. Then you revoke. And then you say, okay, now we'll investigate you and revoke. Then you start investigations. Then you revoke again. The rush this time that they issued a letter yesterday was to prevent the IBC from gazetting my name. They went to the tribunal. They lost at the tribunal. I actually took them to court for contempt and for judicial review, because you cannot have a decision made by an organization like CUE by an individual, because it's a commission. A commission first communicates through the law, through its commission secretary. Number two, a number of commissioners must meet to make a decision. But it has always been one, Professor Chacha Nyaigoti, who is being used politically, and I've said it before. He is the one leading Azimio campaigns in Migori. It's on record. I can give you the facts. He's the one who's hosted Raila's campaigns there. And in fact, the first letter that he wrote to revoke was signed by him on the letterhead of the CEO. Completely unprocedural. And then we go to court. Just for the judicial process, there must be fair administrative action. And then, in contempt, he then communicates again, issues a press conference at 7. In fact, in the history of Kenya, this is the first time the CUE is discussing an individual's credentials. Since, I know I want to set records in this country, but not such records to be discussed by an institution. The first person. And I responded. And I said, look, there's no two set of laws in this country. There's no set of requirements for Sakaja and for the rest of Kenya. That for everybody else, bring your certificate. For Sakaja, bring your meal card, your gown, tell us, your timetable, all those years back. In fact, if he was asked the same questions, he'd have no answer.
Pictures of your graduation.
Pictures of graduation, as if that's necessary.
Receipts of your payment.
Yes, receipts. How many do you have receipts?
Receipts?
Yeah.
I don't even have receipts for the shopping I did last week.
Last week, But I understand it's a political process.
Okay.
And I have the qualifications to run for governor of Nairobi. Not just the qualifications. I have the passion, the will, the competence, the experience to actually take our city to the next level. And so we are still in court on that matter. The truth will come out. And these guys, I understand how they operate, and that's why I'm very calm. I understand. Remember, for the last 8-9 years, even more, I've been at the center of the political strategy for that side. So I know who says what, who then uses what approach, who asks for another drink, and then who comes late, who will sit for 2 minutes, who is pushing what agenda where. I understand completely. Today is Friday. I'm sure after this, they'll say, okay, now since you've dented this credibility by that letter, let's organize an arrest this afternoon. I understand it.
But let
It's
me
part
ask,
of the game.
why are you being targeted?
Because Nairobi is important. And they realize that their candidate, who is actually a project, who is being pushed, who didn't want to.
Johnson, even you are a project.
No, I'm the people's project. I'm my own. I'm not relying on any state. I'm not being pushed. I'm not being paid for billboards.
It's the terminology.
Okay, they're candidate. Let me just say they're candidate.
Yes.
The only way that they can win is by me not being on the ballot. And that's the intention. Okay. For whatever nefarious plans they might have, or even good plans that they think I will not accomplish. And I tell them, let the people decide. Nairobians are not, an immature populace. They're very mature. They can make their decision. They know their leaders. They have seen, in fact, even they've tried to suppress polls that are coming out. And then we have information that, yes, this was the result, but we have to bump up this person, punguza yako. Ultimately, I think I'll have the opportunity to really, let the facts behind everything come out. Their letters, for instance, yesterday before they wrote that letter, they say that, they've reached out to me, I've refused to go. They refuse to acknowledge that my lawyers, we wrote and said, look, we're very ready to come, but we're in court with you. There's a hearing on Friday, I'll come on Monday. They have that letter. They said, we went to Uganda. They sent bloggers to Uganda, you've seen them. They sent bloggers. They say, we sent our team to investigate and we found no evidence. They forget to say that they got a letter from the council in Uganda yesterday, the day before yesterday, saying that, yes, you've asked us to investigate, we're investigating, but as it is, this is what we did. And as it stands, these credentials are valid. They go on to say, because I know you'll ask me, they say that, in 2017 you said you had a degree in actual science from the University of Nairobi, and you signed that. First of all, that was not a requirement in the 2017 election. By 2016, I'd already gotten this one. I was going for Senate. I wrote it as, first of all, even the documents they're saying are not signed by me. So they're making so many, and I understand how they work, they're making so many mistakes. Yes, I studied actual science at the University of Nairobi.
For how many years?
For 4 years. There's a document they keep spreading around of students to be discontinued. And it shows you the reason there was, fees and whatnot. And of course, it was a difficult process. There are few units I didn't complete. But the ceremony of graduation is not what confers the knowledge to you, So and by the time I was now, able to go back, I was too embarrassed and shy to go back to class. And that's something I'll complete. I'll finish it through 3-4 units. But there's no law that says you must bring a degree from the University of Nairobi, is there?
Senators, all of these things are going on. It's like we're looking at an arena, right? And it's Senator Sakaja in the arena with whomever they are, right? Yeah. And the people who are in the audience are Kenyans, are Nairobians, who are essentially saying, are we going to vote for this man to become governor? And so they're looking for one thing clear from you to say very clearly, do I have a degree or not?
But I've just explained. The requirement to run for governor, you must have a degree. I have a degree, I took it. They accepted it. They accredited it. And then they started playing the games. I didn't go there with a newspaper. I went with a certificate. I went with the transcripts. I went with everything.
Would you say, Senator, that with what's going on, that you are actually being wind-assisted greatly? Because even people who didn't know you now know you. Well, people who had never heard of you have now heard of you.
I think sometimes, when you set a trap for somebody, it becomes almost a blessing in disguise. I've had 7-8 headlines. Some people have a long career in politics. They don't get one.
Well done.
There's a day when Professor Chacha and the article I was talking about is the first one is on the 20th of I'll get it 2021 on the Star, how he hosted Azimio etc. I mean, the day he gave his press conference and I responded, I was live on TV from 9 to 9:15 on 3 stations. And my comms people tell me that is 17 million worth
value
of there's a PR value and the advertising value. I'll never afford that. I'm just a young guy from this city. So I take it in my stride. I'm a politician. I'm resilient. I understand what it takes. And they say, no pain, no palm. No thorns, no throne. No girl, no glory. No thorns, no throne. No cross, no crown.
Beyond just trying to stifle your candidacy,
yes,
who did you offend?
Well, I guess I offended my former party, my former boss, who is still the president, who could not understand why I would go to the party I went to.
Did you have to mention his name in a speech?
Yes.
Why?
Because, some say that you never bite the hand that feeds you, and I acknowledge the journey we had gone through. But when that hand starts strangling you, you must scream.
You couldn't talk to the hand?
No.
Why not?
Because the decision on who becomes governor of Nairobi is for the people of Nairobi.
Mm-hmm.
It's not any individual.
Which means there was a conversation that had been had.
Yeah, I mean, people have been sent out to me as recently as last week, asking me, it's gonna be very bad for you in CAFs. Just let this, just go for holiday. Say you're sick, step down, and we'll make all this thing go away. Just step down from this race. I promise you. And they've used very close friends. They've used a very close senator to me. They've used, some of them. Remember, these are people I've related to closely from 2007. So I understand them very well.
I have to ask
and I just want to say, emphatically, that I will not step down. That I am properly on the ballot. I'm the candidate for UDA and for Kenya Kwanza, for Nairobi governor, for the position of governor. God willing, I'll get elected on the 9th.
Eric.
You've worked very closely with the president and those close to him.
Yes.
Like you've said, for many years,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
You were the chairman of his party that won an election. You were nominated to parliament. You have been a senator. You've worked closely with these people. So all along you had expressed a desire to one day be a governor of Nairobi.
Yeah.
Even in 2017, at some point, you had said you'd like to be the governor of Nairobi. Before then you moved back into, I want you to be the senator for Nairobi.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So the question then I ask is, why would it be such a big deal if you are on the ticket? Are you so diametrically opposed in terms of your ideals and your ideas for Nairobi City County?
I don't think so.
Because it's like saying if Sakaja is there, then we are doomed. But if Sakaja is not there, then we are okay. I mean,
you see, and I understand the narrative on that side. And there's a way they look at our city. As part of their political negotiations, remember in the race, and I'm sure you saw all the polls before April, moving on to May, I was ahead, followed by Timo Nyonyi, then undecided, and then there was Bishop Wanjiru, and then Ngatia, and then later Polycarp Igathe came at 10%. And the same thing, let me just put it this way, the same thing that they did to Timo Nyonyi is what was due to me if I stayed in that formation. It's very clear. Because their argument was that there's a political interest or political community that is saying if we're supporting Raila for the presidency, we must get this position. Okay. And that was their balancing act. And I told them, look, I cannot change where I was born. I cannot change my identity. I am who I am. I have a passion for this city. I was born and raised here. And I want to serve. And even in your polls, it shows you that across communities, across tribes, across age groups, I'm ahead. And so that discussion didn't go well. And then I said, Bas, kama hapa sitakikari na sina nafasi, sinitafute pale nitapata nafasi. And for where I'll get space. That's as simple as it.
You've answered the question I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
So, in the space you're in before, I like this word space.
It's space.
It covers
political space, monetary space. Now, in the space that you're in, do I hear you to be saying that your old friends in Jubilee had been of the view that you've just expressed, and you were of a different view?
Exactly.
So because you were of a different view, that is why you decided, well, there are other parties.
And not just that. Remember, since 2019, 2020, because I'd always said that for me, my political contract with Uhuru Kenyatta ends in 2022. I've said that very many times. And you remember the funeral of His Excellency Musalia's mom. I said, now it's transfer window. Those things I've learned, so you let me now do.
You're a free agent now.
A free agent, it's transfer window. And I started working with Musalia, someone who I have great respect for, who has a lot of, ideas and thoughts for this country. We started working together. And then we joined Kenya Kwanza.
Johnson,
so it is not just about space is a big consideration. You know, we say even like in business, location.
Is that how politics really works? I mean,
yeah.
Somebody has been. Yes, I understand. People make movements, people change, and often it's
my first change ever, actually.
Well, someone has to start somewhere.
I don't want to change much more. I want to revive my party TNA next year when the window opens.
What you're saying
Yes.
is actually not new in this country.
Yeah.
Someone being in this party doesn't see it as something that's going to serve their interest. They move on.
Yeah.
It's understandable.
Yeah.
But it doesn't prevent those you move away from being unhappy.
Yes. And they warned me of consequences.
Oh, but there are always consequences.
And of course, every choice has a consequence. Like, look, I'm not whining. I'm saying I'm facing it head on.
You know what's happening.
Day. I know what's happening. I know how they plan. I know why they plan. I understand that game so well. Imagine. It's like teaching you about radio. You've done it for years. So I understand it. But ultimately, we keep our eye on the prize.
Okay.
The institutions in this country that unfortunately, some are showing state capture, doing things against the law, against the courts, against their own rules. I've shown you the direct conflict of interest of the current chairman of the CUE. I've shown you, I've given you the articles. I've shown you just now, you've seen 2 or 3 of them, where the person who is heading a political campaign that benefits from me being put down is the one writing letters unilaterally without looking, without the commission sitting, without them agreeing, and of course now they'll be forced to agree. If you look at even the letter written yesterday, it's in the same exact language as the petitioner's claims in court. Is it the same? Are they the petitioner? I went to DCI. I took myself. I said, look, the DCI has pronounced himself on was it the Standard or the Nation? I think on the Nation, clearly saying that we shall not surrender our capital city and describing me. And I said, what do you mean you shall not surrender? Are you the one surrendering? It's the people of Kenya who vote. Your institution is supposed to be non-partisan. And the statement I wrote, I said, please confirm those remarks. Because what part of the electoral process are you playing? To say that you shall surrender or not surrender? How many votes do you have in Nairobi? Maybe I should come ask for votes from you. They're trying to use these institutions. I know them. I know exactly how they work. And
but
humbly.
Why this particular one?
Why
you've played this game. So when you're playing the game, you look at somebody's likely weak point, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you try to push, try to exploit, so you can remove and break the rivets.
Yeah.
So why this particular issue of your education?
Because of the University of Nairobi, and I've just explained.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you went to the University of Nairobi.
Yes.
You studied for 4 years, actuarial science.
Yes.
You did not.
The 4th year was your last year.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
You did not graduate.
But you had a resit.
I had a few supplementaries. I did 2.
Yes.
And I'll sort that out. Because remember, in 2007 is when I, just to try and also be able to pay fees, I was really struggling to sort all those out. Not all of us had scholarships and the ability to. I became a driver in President Kibaki's campaign.
Okay.
And that's how I got into Siasa. And I went in as a driver, and I was trying to be able to balance both. It proved a bit difficult. And I rose up the ranks within that campaign. In fact, I'm very happy. The ones who've spread that newspaper clipping of students to be discontinued. And it says down there, please confirm your fees balances. It was really about
It was about the school fees.
About fees mainly.
All right.
And so after that, as a young person, and now you're earning something and you're being utilized. President Kibaki really, we became quite close. He depended on me on a few things. I played a very central role towards the end of his election. And in the beginning of the fresh year, I met Uhuru Kenyatta. I'd already started, a side hustle in Nairobi. And so time moved. I felt too shy because when I joined Treasury to work with President Kenyatta, I really couldn't get the job because I didn't have the credential. And I said, oh my God, now what do I do? Do I go back or do I start another process? I saw something online which, through, distance and all those details will be brought out in court. I started doing that because I just was too shy and embarrassed to go back to class. Yeah, simple as that. But doesn't mean that I don't have that knowledge. I have
Okay. So you found this other university
Yes.
And decided to enroll.
I
Take
decided
us
to enroll
through
because
that. Because it's important that everybody understands.
The details of that, because it's like any other program. The many
was it an online program? Was it distant learning?
Just take us through that, the entire thought process and your application and admission and studying.
Those are the questions that CU is asking for, and I will let that process
People
play
just
out.
want to know.
I did it like any other external student. But I'm giving you information, I'm being very open with all of this.
Yes.
But I also don't want to jeopardize what is before the court. Because what you're asking me now is what Church was asking me.
What are you not allowed to say, Mheshimiwa?
Sub judice is when you say something that can affect the outcome of your process. So there is what they're asking for, there's what the court...
Are you allowed to say
we're not talking about the merits of what's in court.
No.
You went to school.
I went to school, I did the program.
You can talk about whether you went to school.
I went to school.
And what you were thinking about
and
at that
how
point,
you went
how
to
you made
school.
the decision, what you went through. That's all we're asking.
Well, I made the decision to pursue this program. As an external student.
Okay. It was distant learning.
It was distant learning.
Okay.
So as an external student, I pursued that program. I did it slowly from 2012, and I finished. Simple as that.
And how long?
And the institutions, that was around 5 years.
Okay.
And the institutions that are required then to verify the details of, okay, is this accredited? Is this allowed? Is this institution proper? Is this documentation okay? Have all said it is okay. No one has changed.
Did the school require you to actually have a physical presence at any given point in time?
No.
Because some distant learning programs, you are required to appear even if it is for 2 weeks or something. But others, you do not.
No.
But we also know from what we have looked into that university was accredited and has been accredited to offer distant learning. Yes.
Yeah. And I can come back next week after the court process. But everything is above board. I have nothing to hide at all. At all.
But Mheshimiwa, the thing that I really have to ask you, you see, when did you get into politics? Which year?
What's
okay,
politics?
driving for the President Kibaki, you got into politics.
No, even before that, I was involved in the 05 referendum as a student leader in Sonu at the University of Nairobi.
But if you're talking about leadership, it began in school, didn't it?
From like being a head boy?
Yes.
Yes, began in school. Yeah, that is true.
So it started
That's
then.
the trajectory.
So that's why I asked. Politics, you were a politician even in school.
A leader. I prefer the word leader.
I prefer
in the political sphere.
I prefer the word politician.
Okay. No problem.
Then you got into Sonu.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Then you got into real politics.
I got into before Sonu, I was the vice president of the Actual Students Association, and then Sonu.
Right.
Yeah.
Then
real
now,
politic.
Now you got into real politics, and now you got into national politics.
Yes.
All right. How many years has it been?
It's been many years.
And you have been very close to power, extremely close to power.
Yeah.
You have seen what happens to people who are not liked by power.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
What did you think was going to happen to you?
Well, why would I think anything would happen to me when I had the credentials by 2016?
No. What did you not take into account? The very things that we're seeing, you're going to quote.
Yeah.
Everything that we're discussing here.
Yeah.
Had you not foreseen it?
Leave alone that. There's someone who said, I think it was Masinde Muliro, who used to say, when you get into politics and leadership, be ready to be arrested, to go bankrupt, or to even die. So this is nothing. And I've been ready for it. And I'm ready for whatever it takes. Because I know the cost and the journey and the cross that it takes to get to leadership positions. No one has had it easy. Before President Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto got into presidency, they went through the ICC process. They went through so much. Before, Raila Odinga became prime minister, he's been detained. He's been, it's a journey. And remember, it's a high-stakes election. Nairobi, as an economy, commands, a huge percentage of our GDP. It's high stakes. They're high interest. There are people who sit every single day to plan against me. But I don't fear that. I don't. Because I understand the industry I'm in. So, as I've said, the institutions that are charged with it, and the court, the IBC, etc., are seized of the matter. I'm confident. I'm still on the ballot. I will be on the ballot, inshallah, God willing. And if the people of Nairobi so wish and vote for me, I'll be the governor of Nairobi. And that's what I want to focus on.
There's something I want to ask you.
Yeah.
God willing, if you become governor, when you become governor,
yes.
Among the political discussions that the Brotherhood of Governors could have, is this little thing about the qualifications we need for the positions.
Yes.
And I ask this question because I don't think there's a study that has been done in this country that points to what was assumed in our constitution, that a degree confers upon you, or the whole of that degree, a certain ability for efficacy and ability to discharge your duties better than somebody else who hasn't. Because if there is nothing concrete that points to it, this is a requirement that needs to be looked into. If anything, sidelined. Because in countries where they've actually done the research, and I'm quoting one which was done in Sweden, they found that one of the things that education did do, higher education, university education, it pointed people in the direction of why it is they didn't get into politics.
I like that. For me, if you ask me, I think
Senator, if you don't mind,
a degree requirement is important, and for the aptitude.
Let's talk about that after this quick break. Okay, it's 25 minutes to 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation at the Situation Room. Senator Johnson Sakaja, gubernatorial candidate for Nairobi City County, is in the studio with us. We are talking about the tribulations that he's going through in this entire campaign period, and also we'll talk about what he'd like to do if he gets the nod to be governor of Nairobi.
Communications Authority making it easier for us to be on the internet in a safe space. There's that word again, CT. My family, let me tell you, we're all online. Kids are always talking about followers this, YouTube that. But as a parent, you know that letting them explore the internet comes with its share of dangers. Luckily, we also know that the Communications Authority of Kenya works diligently in managing Kenya's cyberspace, educating us on what to watch out for whenever online so that we are safe there. You now know how much good can be gained from working online with kids, and you know what sites they should not visit. And by the way, engaging strangers online is a no-no for children. The Communications Authority of Kenya is opening your world.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Guess what? Cold Stone Creamery has amazing deals for you to indulge every day. This month, enjoy deals on 2 cups of creamy delicious ice cream from as low as 600 shillings and ice cream cakes from as low as 1,800 shillings. Visit any of our stores in Nairobi or Mombasa and indulge. Cold Stone Creamery, the ultimate ice cream experience.
Are you a recruiter looking for the ideal candidate? What if we told you there's an easier, faster, and unbiased way to hire? Forget all the time wasting and costly hiring mistakes and instead focus on reviewing the best suited candidates from the start. Sounds good, right? We offer you a seamless recruitment portal and access to our thousands of job seeker profiles to suit your hiring needs. In just a few clicks, you will be able to select the best candidates ranked by real data. Sign up today by visiting jobs.digga.co.ke and start your journey to efficient and effective hiring.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi.
You're
We'll see
listening
highs
to
of 21,
Spice
currently at
FM.
14 degrees. 13 and sunny in Nakuru, highs of 25. We'll see highs of 21 when cloudy Nyeri. 13 and sunny in Eldoret, highs of 23, and 27 will be the high in a rainy Mombasa. It's also raining in Malindi at 24, to go to highs of 28 today. 19 degrees and mostly cloudy in Kisumu, highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 27 as well in a cloudy Kakamega. Mostly sunny at 18 in Kampala, highs of 26 and lows of 17, and it's raining in Dar es Salaam at 22. We'll see highs of 29 and lows of 21. Joburg is clear at 5, highs of 15 and lows of 3, and rain showers continue in Lagos at 24. We'll see highs of 28, and 31 will be the high in a clear Kinshasa, currently at 20.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're listening to Spice FM.
All right, time says that we're on traffic hour now proper. A couple of accidents this morning that have slowed things down considerably. Traffic coming off Langata Road has done quite the thing today. And so we're looking at traffic on Langata Road well into South Sea, and folks are trying to get away from the mess that's on Langata Road through and through to the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. So we now have that clog up going towards Rilo Dingaway out towards Gong Road as well. In the CBD, taking a lot of this morning. Not too bad on Landys Road. It doesn't mirror what's going on Jogo Road because that's really slow traffic then getting out into that area. On Kiambu Road, we're looking at in and outbound traffic. It's bumper to bumper, back to back through to the Pangani underpass, which we remember, yes, is just about where That accident took place this morning. Still trying to sort that out. Thika Superhighway, not too bad. We're likely to see that build up in a few minutes or so. Coming out of Westlands, James Gishuru onto Waiaki Way. Use the Red Hill Link Road. Save you time. Let's talk SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
8:21 minutes to 8, Kenya's biggest conversation. It continues. We have with us in the studio Nairobi gubernatorial candidate Senator Johnson Sakaja. We are talking about his trials and tribulations and his dreams for Nairobi. City had asked you the question.
Yeah.
Is a degree important for a governor?
It's extremely important.
Why?
You see, what it was trying to cure was this past of leaders who had zero aptitude, could not relate to the people, could not decipher, understand issues. For a CEO position, I think some minimum educational requirements.
Remove relating to the people.
Yeah.
Relating to people and education don't have to correlate.
No, relating policy to the people.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Just translating this policy then means this. Of course, there are some people who are professors who cannot relate policy to to people, but I think it was just a threshold. Of course, Kenya is one of the only countries with that requirement. For me, I don't see a problem with it, despite the fact that only 4% of this country have that, achievement. It has shown many countries, even the biggest economy in the world, the US, even to become president, you just need to be a citizen. But since that's our requirement, anybody who vies for governor should have that.
You see, my problem is not with the qualification. You see, it runs against a certain process of things in this country where when you apply for a job, because when one wants to be a governor, an MP, you're applying for a job.
Yeah.
The only thing is the committee that vets you is much bigger. And and the decision they make, it is a voting process.
Yes.
You are normally asked for a certain academic qualification and they ask for other things.
Yes.
There are things you're told is an added advantage. Sometimes it's a language, sometimes it's years of experience in a specific field.
Yeah.
Our situation doesn't allow for this because somebody could have grown up the ranks. Let's say you start with a certificate and with the time and work experience and training, we are at a time and point in our history where academia takes into account actual experience and converts it.
Yes.
It's wisdom personified in my mind because the academic qualification is supposed to get you there. This experience that somebody else, that's what it's supposed to get you. But it gives you theoretical knowledge which can help you understand this better. But then you then begin the argument of, do you learn better by reading or do you learn better by doing?
By doing.
Precisely. So,
nothing is a better teacher than actually being on the job.
Precisely.
And in fact, some people are proposing that, look, some of this, recognition of prior experience and prior learning translates to it. But for now, that's the law we have. I know it was struck off for other cadres, like for MPs and for MCAs. And there's a legal question out there that then if it was struck off for this category, what about this one? But for now, it's what we have. There are people who walk around even calling themselves doctors and professors, but when they open their mouth, you have no evidence that they're a professor. Or there's nothing to prove.
Mheshimiwa, striking it off is simplifying a situation that is not simple. And that is why I've given this presentation. I'm saying there are other things you need to consider, not just one. It's one in addition to this or this instead of the other. Because if you take this job, these electoral positions that seriously, then for heaven's sake, make the requirements, give the necessary thought process for that requirement as well. Don't just say degree or no degree, diploma or no diploma.
To be very honest with you, deep down, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. But I doubt right now I'm the right person to give my real view around it because mine is being questioned and I have it. But deep down, I don't think it's a measure of leadership. But I think it's just a filter they try to put. It's not the correct filter. You remember before there used to be English and there used to be a language test and all that before you get to parliament where you can talk and write. You could read and write, etc. For now, the requirement is you have a degree. If you're running for governor, you better have a degree. I'm running for governor, I have a degree.
Senator, how do you think this all then plays on the race moving forward? And hear me out. Because there are certain things that are being questioned overall. And saying, okay, so if this is being questioned, if this is being suspected, then will my position as per where my support lay for senator going towards governor change?
Well,
how will you deal with that? Because it's a reality that you must face, that then people's mindset may have changed because of all of this that they're seeing. How will you deal with it?
Actually, my support has gone up like 10-15%. I do polling every 2 weeks. Because once people see that it's an unfair political onslaught on this person, and they can tell that out of all hundreds of candidates, the focus on this person, the use of state resources, sending ambassadors to intimidate institutions, calling commissions, just, the sheer abuse of power and authority and state officers who should be actually non-partisan, then it has, to a great extent, increased support. For those who feel that these allegations have dented credibility, there's always time for them to understand the truth. And the most beautiful thing about the truth is it has a way of showing up.
So you don't feel as though there's anything that you need to do to claw back on maybe anything that may have been lost along the way in terms of credibility?
I need to keep my eyes on the prize. You see, what you do when you're dealing in a political battle is put yourself in the shoes of your opponent and say, what would be their best case outcome or scenario? What do they want you to do? They want you to lose focus. They want you to start fighting that fight instead of going to speak to Nairobians about what you want to do to them. And, as a leader, and I've held this for a long time, remember during the revenue debate, during all my, past, tough, easy times, as a leader, you should never fear to be misunderstood. If your conscience is clear and you're doing the right thing, keep your eyes on the prize. Do it. They'll understand at some point. Yeah. So I stay focused. There could be a dent. Yeah, I agree. There could be. I never worry about what I can't change. I focus on what I can. But I have 38 days. Let me focus. I mean, this has been a long time coming. They say the water pot breaks at the door. Right. I will. City should add that to your saying for
tomorrow's proverb.
Tomorrow's proverb. But I assure you, I mean, it's a game we understand. We have 38 days, 22 hours, 13 minutes to the opening of the ballot. I am now shifting gear, and taking my campaign to the next level. Throughout the city. I intend to launch my manifesto on the 10th of July. I'd rather spend more time focusing on that and addressing this issue. Let me tell you. Character is not defined by an allegation against you. Anyone can say anything, though. Tomorrow there could be an allegation against Eric on the papers. If people have power, you'll be on the cover of the Nairobian. They'll take a photo of a girl somewhere and say, this happened, this didn't happen. And I'll pay a CEO here in this building, and I'll push it if I have 1 million or 2 million shillings. Does that change who you are? It doesn't. Ultimately, the truth comes out.
There's a question that has been asked. It's a simplistic question, but yet it's actually very profound. The question has been asked of many leaders who have claimed to have done something. They asked, okay, so who are your classmates? I ask this question because have people you went to college with come out to defend you? People who know you and say, look, Bana, this guy was an actor. For heaven's sake, I went to school with this guy.
And what forum?
Social media forum.
From where?
You see, let me state why I'm saying this. Yeah. We all have friends and we all have communities who know us and believe in us.
Can I tell you the most credible person who's come out to defend me?
Yes.
Is the institution. Remember, this was distance learning. I was not
No.
People here.
I'm not even interested in the distant learning. I'm interested in the University of Nairobi.
Oh, yeah. See, very many people. In fact,
that is the question I'm asking you.
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you, in fact, some of my professors have reached out. Of course, they don't go to social media, you see. They have reached out and said, why this onslaught? And that's me. That's our student. These 2, 3, 4 units, just complete. I'm like, don't worry, I'll do it. You understand why I didn't come at that time. Already more or less a public figure, going to sit in class. There are many ways to do it. In fact, there's some which have been done. But my classmates are there. We're in our alumni groups. I can tell you which, who I used to sit with for lunch. Those who I was their leader in campus at the university. They've come out. But let me tell you, when you bring it down to the subjective measure of social media, as it is today, with many paid bloggers, people who know nothing about you, putting such incredulous claims, and I love their zeal, because it's their zeal that's finishing their case, because they're contradicting themselves day in and day out. Then sometimes silence is actually golden. Sometimes.
It is. The reason why I bring it up is precisely this. Your case is in the court of public opinion.
Yes.
social media is one of the key players in that particular sphere. Now, there is nothing that can be considered too much work or too hard to do. Because our findings, I know you are the University of Nairobi because I have found out you are the University of Nairobi. I know.
And you should have seen the fight to remove me from the website. There was a huge fight. And the guys that told me, these calls are too heavy. To remove you from the list of notable people who come to this university, who've gone through alumni, etc. I mean, it's all there, and it's okay. For me, I understand that can be dealt with by people. My blinkers are on. My eyes are on the prize.
Do you think there'll come a time when they will ease off?
No.
Or do you think, if God willing, you actually do win the gubernatorial seat, that the onslaught will even be greater?
They'll ease off between the 25th and the 30th of August, because the swearing in is on the 25th. That's when I'll be sworn in, God willing. And they'll try and re-strategize. They'll try and calculate how many MCAs they have, or we have and don't have, and then they'll start all over again. But I think by that time, everything will be clear. Remember, there's an election, there's a presidential election, there's MPs, there's MCAs, there's governor, senator, women rep. They might try to regroup. But what I know for sure, even within Azimio, by the way, and I'm just being completely, I mean, you can check your friends there. Even within their candidates, within the city, I have a lot of support from them. From the MCA to the top level, apart from, of course, my opponent. And they understand, they see what is happening. Many of them are like, we have to keep quiet because we're here, but chini ya maji, talk to this person, we want to support you. The day before yesterday, I had such an overwhelming reception in Sarangombe, in Kibra, where many even of Azimio are not campaigning. And many, of course, of our side have not been going to. And I went there and they're like, wewe ndio wetu. Usitulize lingine lakini hii ni yako. And they know that.
So it's you they're supporting, not necessarily UDA.
There are many supporters of mine who are supporting me, but unfortunately, on them, are not supporting my presidential candidate or my party. Very many. Remember the last election, my presidential candidate, Uhuru Kenyatta, had 700,000 in Nairobi. I had 840,000. Meaning I got votes from Jubilee then, and also from NASA, Azimio, or whatever you call it, ODM.
NASA.
Remember as well, before the handshake, I'd done very unsavory handshake-esque things. Honorable Loach was being beaten up by Jubilee people at Pan-Africa on the 26th of October. I went and jumped and I held him and said, if you want to beat him, come through me. I was not supposed to be doing that. When Babu Owino was in a jail cell in Parklands police station because of whatever he did, and Raila Odinga went to try and remove him and Wetangula, I went there, I risked my political career because I believe politics is not enmity. And we should never misuse agencies of state. And I went and I got him out. That was very unpopular amongst the followers of Jubilee. But 2-3 weeks later, there was a handshake and suddenly that's the right thing to do. I've been consistent. And I've always said, Nairobi, siasa si wadu. It's about siasa safi. And I keep telling my people, here, is there a Kikuyu pothole or a Luya lack of water or a Kamba, is there an ODM? If you have a problem today in the county, will you go to the ODM house or you'll go to the City Hall? Will you go to UDA house or you'll go to City Hall? Look at the individual you're voting for. And many, I tell you, Eric, I tell you guys, many voters of Nairobi are with that. They're like, sisi hapa juu, tunapatia Ruto, na wewe, ama tunapatia Raila, na wewe, but and the saying in the streets in Nairobi is like, vyama ni vingi, governor ni mjamo. That's what they're saying. And so you can understand the desperation. The hurriedly poorly put together letters, the late night press conferences, the intimidating calls, the pleas to step down. I understand. And I just want to assure them, I imagine there's nothing I would do detrimental to anybody who's done things right.
You'll be a good person.
I'm not vindictive. I'm not bitter. Even if I mentioned individuals, I have no single bitter bone in my body. Never.
If Mheshimiwa, this same God willing, you do not win.
Yes.
What do you plan to do?
Well, I'll go on living life. It's not a matter of life and death, whether I get elected or not. But what the governor of Nairobi does is a matter of life and death for many Nairobians.
It is.
It is.
Since you have kind words to say about fellow politicians, do you have any kind words to say about your competitor?
My competitor is an interesting character. He's someone I've worked with before. We campaigned together in 2017. I remember when Sonko's Manifesto was put together largely at my office in KICC 26th floor. And that's when I met him, when he had just come in as a running mate. I don't think he's a bad person. I just sympathize with him because you can tell with every activity that he's being pushed. And I sympathize with him. I don't think he wanted to leave the boardroom. And unfortunately, a politician without conviction is like a musician without rhythm. It shows. And the crowd will just cringe.
A dancer with one leg.
Yeah, it's a dancer with one leg.
But
I don't wish him any ill.
Saks, I have known you for a number of years, and I know you to be an honest person, right? In that incident during COVID, when you got arrested and all, you came out the following day and you said, I own up, I messed up, I apologize, I am sorry, it won't happen again. It was wrong what I did, right? Yes. And that gave you several bonga points. People, they said, okay,
he's been honest.
He's honest. Several such incidences where you've come out and explained yourself, honest. This morning, you've told us, I went through actuarial science at the University of Nairobi, got to a certain degree, got to a certain level, a certain stage. I had to drop out because of lack of school fees. And
not
later,
necessarily fees and time and fees, and then just life moved on, and then I felt,
and then later you felt, I have moved on. I'm not comfortable going back to class with a different group of students. That's honesty. Now, what I've been wishing that I'd hear from you is just you coming out to tell your story and own your story. Remove this monkey that's been placed on your shoulder. This is what I have done.
I think I've said that over the last 30 minutes.
I went here at this point. I chose Team University. Why? Because of this, and the other. And from Team University, it was online course. I graduated on this particular day. I got my certificate. Post the certificate on social media. Let everybody see it. Remove the monkey from your shoulder. Why can't you just do that?
I'll post it. You see, as I've said, I understand the politics behind it. I understand what they're waiting to hear me say. I understand. You see, the problem,
they have more ammunition against you.
There's no ammunition. They just want to distort things. And I promise you, I have nothing to hide. And I'll be able to, let me finish this court process. I'll come. I can even, if you give me time, I can even bring lecturers and classmates to come for the show. In fact, even I hope I can open for them, help them set up in Nairobi, because it's a brilliant institution. I learned about it from actually colleagues, in those days at the National Treasury, and I'm also sorry to them that they have been dragged through this. And for everyone who's been dragged through this, there are many people who believe in me, who want me to say what you're saying. But I'm just asking them for patience because I understand this process. I did that program. I got my degree in October of 2016.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, that if there are people who are, and there are, who are waiting for you to say, look, just tell us what it is so that we can move forward. Because court process or not, the courts, this whole legal thing, that in their minds, they're waiting for you to remove that block for them. Yeah. It doesn't matter what the court will take. And if you don't do that, then the speculation...
I thought what I've done today is to do that.
Sure, but I mean...
Or you want me to come with the government?
Yes. No, I mean to say it, Sir Johnson.
I've said it.
Yeah. No, it's really, really important.
I think I've said it.
Mheshimiwa, there's a Kenyan phrase that describes this thing, for avoidance of doubt.
There's for avoidance of doubt, but also there's in the abundance of caution.
Yes.
Those two have to...
They go hand in hand.
But I just want to assure, I've had supporters for years. There are many young people who look up to me.
Yes.
There are many old people who also, support me because they see a future for our country. I want to tell them that I will not disappoint them. And they will understand why I've treated this in the manner I have. Part of the surprise, by the way, and this is something I did very quietly, is that when I went to the CUE, and someone there, very senior, confessed to me that, we are waiting for you to bring something different. We didn't know this is what you're coming with. We thought what you'd bring here is probably a fake thing from the University of Nairobi. Remember the DCI, without being prompted, wrote to the VC, etc. Oh, we thought you'd bring something. So these guys, they don't know what to do. And that's why I sat a whole day. I found the commissioners staring blankly at each other. The leader of Azimio in Migori, Professor Chacha, the chairman, the CEO Mwena Ntaragwi, and Lucy Kambuni, in a boardroom, looking at each other that, yes, we've written to Uganda, to the university, they've written back and they've claimed it. I sat there from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. until I sent a text And I'll show you that. Okay, I won't show you. I don't have the behavior my predecessor had. I sent a text. In that text, I described something. Only me and the person I sent to, very powerful. Understand? In 2 minutes, I got the letter and a missed call from him. I chose not to pick it because I was going to be clear the next day. We might tell each other things. And then
that could be
myself not, you know. And let me tell you, for me to even name certain people, it's not easy. But understanding how this thing is, I know there are people who, so long as no one knows what they're doing, they will do it. And they will keep doing it.
Okay.
I stand by the truth. I stand by my credentials. In fact, what I'll do, by the next one, let me even just come with a PhD or a master's. You know, go finish the UN one and whatnot, and I'll do it. But ultimately, what defines me as a leader and me as an individual is who I am and who I have been to the people of this country.
Johnson Sakaja, thank you very much for coming.
We've not even discussed the manifesto. We've not discussed Nairobi.
Yes.
Manifesto we can get hold of.
Go to court. We understand you're going to court this morning.
Yeah.
Go to court.
No, I told you know how they work. So today
I want you to come and we discuss your manifesto. You're launching it on the 12th.
There's impending arrest. Now what I want to say is, there's this forgery or there's this what, because they're asking me to present things so that they can say, we have a new forensic lab and we've tested this. And once I say that, you don't know, you can't discount it.
Yeah.
I understand the game and I'm ready for anything. Yeah.
Once you launch your manifesto, come.
I'm inviting you guys for the launch. Though the concept could be different. Because you've seen everyone calls people in a room and announces it. Like, it could be different. But I'll let you guys know.
Well, after you launch your manifesto, come, let's talk about it.
Okay. And after swearing in?
Come.
Asante.
If you get elected as governor, come very many times.
And
Excellent.
when you're governor, continue coming.
We'll be coming. And we'll make Nairobi work.
Thank you, Johnson.
Thank you.
Keep it here for more conversations. A very good morning. It's 8:01. Time for the news.
He says that he will
The latest news from around the world.
security by delivering salaries of
94.4
police
SpiceFM.
officers, infrastructure and technology. These as he is running late regarding Gachagua addressed the security of the country, especially when the officers have been taking their own lives. He attributes these to rising cost of living, neglect of officers and lack of adequate funding for the department. He says it's critical for the country's healthy socio-economic well-being.
For the last 10 years, nobody has bothered about the police. The last time their allowances and their salaries were reviewed was the time of President Mwai Kibaki. Yet, the cost of living has really hit our police officers to an extent that in the police lines, every month, there are policemen shooting each other or killing themselves because of depression. The policemen, we must empathize with them because they feel very bad because they have been totally misused and nobody has bothered to think about them.
Gachagua says that under the Kenya Kwanza government, police officers' salaries will be reviewed within the first 100 days of Kenya Kwanza's leadership.
This money they collect on the road, they collect because sometimes they have no food. Sometimes they say they are told to escort money from a bank, 200 million, and themselves they don't have 10 shillings in the pocket. Sometimes being human beings can be very tempting. So we are saying that within the first 100 days, we will review their terms of service, pay them well, and in return they have agreed. To reciprocate and be good people so that we can have a friendly police service like we have in the first world.
A police officer is in custody following yesterday's incident where a tear gas canister was discharged at the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya rally in Kisii, attended by the party's running mate Martha Karua. According to a report by the Inspector General, the officer is said to be responsible for the incident that saw the meeting disrupted and leaders escorted out of the Gusii Stadium. As the probe into the matter is underway, the multi-agency body has assured the public that they will be kept at par with the progress of the case. Now, Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja has told SpiceFM that he has the credentials needed. This after he suffered a heavy blow in his quest to ascend to the city's governorship position after the Commission for University Education officially revoked recognition of his degree from Uganda's Team University. CUE, in a letter to the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission chairperson Wafula Chebukati dated June 29th, said the decision was arrived at following the conclusion of investigations into the matter. Among the information the commission had sought from Sakaja for the purposes of its investigations included letter of admission from Team University, Course units and dates started for verifying instructional hours and workload requirements, transcripts, receipts for fee payments, names of lecturers who taught him, graduation booklet, and any communication between himself and the university staff concerning his studies. The commission said its investigations have since established that the documents Sakaja submitted from Chiu University indicated that he undertook a Bachelor of Science in Management external, which the institution was reportedly not accredited by NCHE to offer at the time. Now, the scant remains of DR Congo's fiery independence hero Patrice Lumumba were finally interred after 9 days of mourning that stirred traumatic memories and national pride. President Felix Tshisekedi declared and hailed Lumumba as a national hero. A single gold-crowned tooth returned by Belgium is all that remains of the young nationalist. He was murdered in January 1961 at the age of 35, just months after becoming Congo's first post-colonial prime minister. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, we're looking at inbound traffic on Mombasa Road and some outbound as well. Looking at that whole Imaradaima stretch, not quite sure what's going on there, but the exit at the expressway could contribute to this significantly. Likely to be the situation. Lunga in and outbound traffic. Jogger Road in and outbound traffic. And we're looking at... Likoni, you guessed it, in and outbound traffic as well, connecting with the interchange on the southern bypass coming onto Mombasa Road. That is what we're seeing right now. Langata Road, still really heavy, and we're looking at Uhuru Highway through and through to the city. At all your roundabouts, at least there seems to be a bit of a hold-up. It's really heavy, massive traffic then as you're getting off Landis towards the Kamkunji roundabout. It is the weekend. A lot of folks leaving the city for one thing or the other. Doesn't look too bad on the Thika Superhighway. We're likely to see more traffic on Kiambu Road in and outbound. The expressway exits are giving us a bit of an issue this morning just because of exiting and paying cash. Let's take a look in about half an hour and see what it looks like, and then let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
7 minutes after 8. Good morning and welcome to the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. Happy new month. Would you believe it? It's already July. It's the first day of a new financial year. Is IFMIS working?
The question isn't is IFMIS working. When is it working?
Oh.
A system that can be switched on at midnight and switched off at 2 a.m. So you wake up in the morning because you're told it's going to work and you find it is just you and the system and it is not working.
No,
so
you find it worked while you were asleep. Why were you sleeping?
While you were asleep.
Yes. We have a new guest in the studio. We have just had a conversation with a gubernatorial aspirant for Nairobi City County. Next up is a gubernatorial aspirant for Kiambu County. Before we welcome and introduce her to the show, City has the proverb.
This is our last proverb from Mozambique, the country of Mozambique. You cannot dance well with one leg.
You cannot dance well with one leg.
This is clearly a proverb that was written in a time when dancing had to do with footwork.
I know people who have two legs and can't dance properly.
Yes, I know people with two legs who keep dancing the next song. So, you know.
And there was a lot of stigma around people with disability.
This is what it points to. But you can dance with your head. You can dance with your hands. My goodness. You can even dance with your eyes.
You can dance, you can dance.
If you can dance, you can dance.
And you can dance.
Yes.
For inspiration.
Even if you're dancing the next song, you're still dancing.
Into the groove. Oh, you got to prove. Okay. Mwende Gatabaki is a gubernatorial candidate for Kiambu County. They say Kiambu and Nairobi, same. They say Kiambu has many voters, my friend. Over 1 million people who will be going to cast their ballot in Kiambu County on the 9th of August. Mwende, very good morning and welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you. And I'm very happy to be here. And I'm very happy that you invited me to be here to talk to the people of Kiambu and everybody else who's listening. Thank you.
We call that the hot seats. And because Kiambu is a very important county, you are going to feel the heat. Not so much, though. It's just we'll give you some very good tea as well as you have the conversation. So I started by asking you this before we went on air. I just want to ask you again. Very many people will read Mwende. So there is Mwende in Kamba, Mwende Kikuyu, Mwende Meru, and they have different pronunciations. Pronounce your name.
Mwende Gatabaki. I come from Githunguri, so it's a Kikuyu Mwende. It's a nickname, actually. My Kikuyu name is Mudhoni. But because I was very playful when I was young and, children used to come home looking for me, then the Mwende name came. Mwende in Kikuyu is the loved one. So that's how the Mwende name actually came up.
Were you your father's favorite?
That too. I mean, do I say...
And that's why they called you Mwende, your siblings. Okay. Okay, welcome. So you are vying to be the next governor of Kiambu County.
Yeah.
When did you make your foray into politics?
I come from a political family. My father is one of the Mau Maus, the Mau Maus who actually, the people who agitated for Kenya's independence. So that's how my family has always been. My mother was also a Mau Mau. So I'm a Mau Mau's daughter. We believe in fighting for the rights of the people, making sure things are working well in the country. And I've always said I'll be running for one post or another. My brother used to be the member of parliament for Githunguri, but now after devolution, things have changed a little bit. So I thought this was an opportune moment to go for the governor position. And especially since I was born in Kiambu, grew up in Kiambu, I've seen another Kiambu which was leading in many things. It was leading in education, leading in agriculture, especially tea and coffee. It was a Kiambu of come and see. It was the role model of many things. And having seen that and looking at the Kiambu I see today, where we are leading in the wrong things like alcohol and drug abuse, things like suicide, things like rape, I decided, no, it's time to go in there and actually change that direction and take Kiambu back to where it all began.
When did you make that decision?
I would say the last 5 years when we got the last governor, the governor who was impeached. When he became governor, I looked at it and I said...
You snapped.
No, wait, I mean, really, Kiambu? No. That was when I made that decision.
When did the rain start beating Kiambu?
I would say Kiambu used to be the cradle of leadership. If you look at the first president of this country, if you look at all the people around him, they were actually from Kiambu. And for the longest, Kiambu, they were the conveners. The Jenga Karumes. If Jenga Karume wanted 1,000 men from across the country, he would convene. Today, we don't have anybody, not even one, with that convening power. If you look at the people who were running, the list which was being put for potential running mates, from whichever side, whether it's Raila, whether it's Ruto, not even one person from Kiambu. So it's very telling. So I would say from where we began devolution, it's not necessarily when it began, but it's when it became very obvious that we have no leadership, people with leadership credentials in Kiambu. I would say that's when it became very obvious.
Could one venture to perhaps opine that the success of Kiambu has been the Achilles heel? That Kiambu was what it was, it was prosperous, and that prosperity marked the beginning of the problems they had, because generations that came after the people who made it prosperous perhaps didn't have the same energy, the zeal, or the vision that their fathers had.
I agree with you. We lost out. We lost out in the sense that there was nobody to keep the fire burning. There was nobody to continue with those leadership credentials. The vision of Kiambu, which our forefathers had, there was nobody to provide it continuity. It's very true. What you see today are leaders, for example, who stand in front of people and insult women or insult each other. You have an altercation between two governor candidates, and it makes everybody totally embarrassed. So we've really gone completely downhill. So it's true what you're saying. There was nobody to provide that, take Kiambu to the next level. So from there, we've just been going downhill.
Did proximity to Nairobi help? Because one of the things that, again, contributes to that proximity, land was very expensive. Land was very valuable. Mm-hmm. Now, if you owned land and Nairobi was moving in the direction of Kiambu, just owning land automatically made you wealthy.
That's true.
So, again, that fire and the zeal to fight, if you had land, it was extinguished. Mm-hmm. But I'm going somewhere with this because Kiambu is still the only part of this country that has produced 2 presidents. Mm-hmm. Still is. Mm-hmm. What is it that you want to do that is different? How do you get the fire back into the belly of your people? How do you get them to understand their heritage? How do you get them to actually understand the things that you understand?
So let me mention the top on my list, the top issues that I see in Kiambu. So one is lack of leadership, providing direction, strategic direction. The second one is the social issues that we are having today. The alcohol and drug abuse, the rape, the suicide rate. I think we have the highest suicide rate in the country. And social issues in general, things like domestic violence is becoming a norm. Rape is becoming a norm. I was talking with women from Kiambu, and they told me where they work during the day, they go to wash clothes to different houses washing clothes. Rape is normal, And I'm thinking when I was growing up, I even didn't know there was anything like rape. Yeah. We don't even have a Kikuyu name for rape per se. What we say is which means you are held by force. But that does not actually talk about sexual insult. It does not really explain it. But now they're saying this is the normal thing. This happens all the time. And one of them even went on to explain to me, it's not just girls, even boys are getting raped. So what I'm saying is we've lost it. We've lost what kept us as a society together. We've lost our moral values. So the one thing I want to do is, first of all, bring back our moral values. I'm talking about, for example, revitalizing our cultural background. Meaning, like, for example, men used to guide the boy child. Today, the boy child is totally neglected. If a single mother, and we have many single mothers, actually Kiambu is leading with, in the number of single mothers. If a single mother has a son, if you're a son from a single mother, you'll continuously be asked, who are you? Who's your father? It's like your mother does not count. So what we have done is we have created a society which does not accept its own children, and it blames the children for the sins of their fathers. The fathers who have refused to take responsibility, it's blaming their children for that. So what's happening? These boys are growing up, and that's why you can see that these are very clear linkage with the high suicide rate of the boys. Okay, they're growing up thinking they don't belong. Okay, so one of the things I want to bring about is bring back that how the young boys used to be looked after by the men. Mm-hmm. The role of the men, we call them kiama. Men have those groups. They bring up the boy child, they guide them, they mentor them, they take them through initiation. One of the things that is funny, which has changed, is that you see women taking their boy children to be initiated because the church saw a gap and they took it. What men used to do before, which they're not doing now, the church saw a gap and they took it. So one of the things I want to do is actually, bring back that so that we can look after our boy child. But there's something else I want to do about unemployment because we have a very high rate of unemployment in Kiambu. we talk a lot about youth, but we never really involve them in decision making or even in discussions about their problems and the solutions to their problems. They know better about their problems and the solutions to their problem. So one of the things I want to do, which is different from anybody else, what has been done before, is create a youth assembly. We have a county assembly. So in my government, there'll be a county assembly, but there will be a youth assembly with a representative from every ward so that they can discuss their issues. We can come up with solutions. I can facilitate implementation of what they are proposing. And that way, I'm able to engage the youth. I mean, they're very intelligent people, and very exposed and very innovative, so that they are actually involved in economically, socially, and politically in the development of the county.
That's an interesting one. Explain a bit further about this youth assembly. So what's the structure of the youth assembly? What's the role of the county executive in supporting the youth assembly?
So the way it will work is we have the county assembly. So on the youth assembly, they'll go through the process at the ward level. Youth, here I'm talking about youth between the age of 20 to 29, or we can take it to 35, the senior youth. They will choose their representative at the ward level. Then we will have a group, what we'll call the assembly. We'll have the rules and regulations. Of course, there's a process of how we are going to actually develop it and actually implement it and actually operationalize it. Then under my social pillar, I have my key pillar, which I'm running on, which is the social pillar. We will have a way of funding, the youth assembly and their initiatives. And also one of the things that I'm very good at is mobilizing funds, from donors and from out there. And if we have a good operational youth assembly, and it's actually addressing the youth issues and actually encouraging youth to actually be more engaged in what's happening in the county, then I'm able to actually mobilize funding for them.
So what will the youth assembly be discussing? So they're discussing issues of unemployment, they're discussing issues of drug abuse, they're discussing issues, whatever is affecting them. How is that then transformed into either policy, legislation, or programs?
So that's what the youth assembly does. So it will be a process. The issues are coming up. You're able to create policies that actually govern how do we resolve these issues, what kind of activities will be required. So very clear policy framework for youth empowerment. You're able to come up with the different activities, different programs that are needed. You are also involving them in addressing the economic issues, the actual economic issues, or even participating. For example, one of the things I want to do is boost agriculture. And I want the youth to participate in modern agriculture farming. For example, greenhouses, fish farming in greenhouses. So these are the areas that will be addressed. How do we do it? Youth don't have land. So how do we make sure that we can actually lease some land for them to actually get involved in those, in those activities?
In your opinion, Wende, why do you think these things are not happening in Kiambu County today?
Because nobody thinks about it. That when I talk about lack of leadership, that is what I mean. Nobody thinks about it. We talk about youth a lot. In every discussion there is youth. But guess what? We never even involve them in even thinking through what those issues are or why those issues are arising. So it's making that difference of, first of all, engage them. Just engage them. And a lot of this will actually, come out. And actually take them as, serious people, because that's who they are. We don't take them that seriously. We just, we still think about youth out there. But we don't take them seriously.
Create the link for me then between these social aspects and then the development of the county. As we're talking about inclusion of the youth, as we're talking about these social ills, which clearly are an issue in this county, create the link between fixing those ills and then developing the county.
Okay. In my manifesto, I have 3 vertical pillars and I have 2 that cut across. So the first one is the social pillar. Social pillar is about people. It's about homes. It's about rebuilding our homes. The second one is the economic pillar. The economic pillar is about creating jobs. It's about making sure that the farmers have more income than they are having. Their businesses are making more money. It's about promoting the small businesses. The third pillar is about water, environment, and sanitation. The two cross-cutting, one is leveraging technology so that we can reduce corruption, and we can also, for example, raise the internally generated revenue, leveraging technology so that we can drive operational excellence in the county. The last one, the fifth one, is bringing in governance, what we call corporate governance, so that we are transparent and we are accountable to the people who put us, in government. So coming back to my social pillar and why it's very important, because it doesn't matter what else you do or how good your roads are if your homes are broken. Our homes are broken, totally broken. So the social pillar starts with one, the health. I want to introduce universal healthcare. It has been done by Ngilu in Kitui. It has been done in Makueni. I want to universal healthcare so that nobody will be asked about money when they go to hospital. Then I'm talking about social protection. Social protection. This is where I'm bringing in the single mothers, the issues with the single mothers. This is where I'm bringing in the domestic violence. This is where I'm bringing in the physically challenged people. The vulnerable in society. What kind of activities do we need to do so that we actually empower them? Mm-hmm. This is also where I'm bringing in now the youth issues, youth and women empowerment issues. This is where I'm bringing the assembly. This is where it is. So that is my social pillar. How is it connected? Because once we rebuild our homes, once we empower women, once we empower the youth, we are ready for the economic pillar. This is where I'm talking about our agribusiness, intensifying our agribusiness. This is where I'm talking about rebuilding our small businesses. This is where I'm talking about TVETs, so that the youth, first of all, we make sure they have the training. Some have, some don't. So the ones who don't, we go through a training program. This is where I'm introducing incubators as part of the TVETs, so that, because what happens is that the challenge is actually the initial capital to put equipment. So, for example, if we want to be making our uniforms in Kiambu, I will put incubators with sewing machines so that the youth actually have a platform, have a facility where they come and actually do their work, without investing in the actual, that initial capital injection, because that is where the issues are. So that is a connection, so that through the TVETs and everything, you're getting youth who are ready for the market and for the kind of activities going on in the market. That is a connection.
Are you saying that the population of the youth are ready to take up these challenges, that if they find that they have been provided for, that they would happily take it? Or do you need to have a program where you will change the thought process? It's called behavior change intervention, but really all it does is you want to have a process that gradually changes the way people look at things. Is this what you plan to do, or are you saying that the youth are willing and ready and they're just waiting for the whistle to be blown and they're off?
No, change process always entails mindset, how people think. You see, if we talk about, for example, alcohol and drug abuse, it's something which has been happening over the last 10 years. So it's not something you're going to change in one day. Yes. And it doesn't mean that, you start TVETs and everybody goes, TVET, yes, And I'm also saying, I'm not taking youth in isolation. I'm talking about the men, the women, smallholder farmers, the youth. It's all a combination of the people who live in Kiambu. Don't also forget, we also have, the group that, the middle income, the professionals. We also have people with a lot of land. How do we combine, what do we do in Kiambu to make sure it becomes, we work together, in the sense that if you look at the people who have a lot of land and a lot of facilities, and under the economic pillar, one of my initiatives there is to unlock the value of Kiambu. What am I talking about? If you see the companies in Nairobi, when they want to take their meetings and conferences to outside Nairobi, they will normally go to Naivasha or to Mombasa, not to Kiambu. And yet Kiambu, we say Kiambu is a bedroom of Nairobi, not to Kiambu, because we are lacking that level of facilities that that they will just bring their services there. That's where I want to take Kiambu to that next level, where when we say bedroom, it's really that bedroom with a balcony. it has the whole works, so that
All in suit.
that one exactly, so that any activities, those ones, so that, for example, why do we have warehouses in Nairobi? No, let all of them come to Kiambu. Why do we have Marigiti, an open air market in Nairobi? I'm going to create the biggest open air market in Limuru. Because that's where the fresh vegetables and fresh fruits are. Let it be the real bedroom, of the city, and also let's unlock its value because we have property. Let's revamp the construction industry, which has stalled, so that we have those facilities that are needed. We create jobs at the same time. It's a combination. I would say it's a combination of things.
We'll talk about that. You'll tell us about we know Kiambu, rural, thika, industrial, and then there's the agricultural, there's the commercial side of Kiambu. You'll explain all this to us as you talk about the economic pillar and further on your social pillar, on your water, environment, and sanitation. I am big on sanitation. I'll ask a couple of questions on that. Mwendega Tabaki wants to be the next governor of Kiambu County. She's here with us in the studio. She's explaining her agenda for Kiambu to us. And we are seeing a lot of comments also coming in on social media. On Twitter, SpiceFM KE. On Facebook, SpiceFM KE. This is because the Communications Authority has done a good job in making sure that there is access to communication across the country. 3G coverage or 4G coverage to 96.4% of Kenya's population. It's a good thing. It's a big thing. We are live on SpiceFM. We're live online, SpiceFM KE on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. And we're also live on KTN Home. We'll be back shortly, 8:30.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
I like listening to you guys. You're the default radio station in my car in the morning. Even the children listen to you guys.
I agree Parliament has failed this country. And I will say it again. We have not done what we should have done.
We know in this country, the Kenya prison sector is one of the most underfunded sector.
The way it is being done and the way we're calling it Huduma Number the Msema Kweli is because all records will be there. There are people who are now billionaires with no history as to how they got all these assets.
Yes. Anything that the president does that is not in accord with the constitution is an illegal act. He shouldn't be doing it and should be sitting here and trying to sort of guise it up.
I totally believe live transmission of results and allowing Kenyans to be able to view all these results. I believe that it will be impossible to steal elections.
14 degrees and the sun is coming out in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 21 and lows of 13. It's sunny at 15 in Nakuru, highs of 25. We're looking at cloudy conditions in Nyeri at 13, highs of 20, and 23 will be the high in a sunny Eldoret. 23 degrees and the rain is still coming down in Mombasa, highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 28 in a rainy Malindi at 25. 21 degrees and sunny in Kisumu. We'll see highs of 28 and 27 will be the high in Kakamega, where it's sunny at 21. 21 and sunny conditions in Kampala, highs of 26. 29 will be the high in a rainy Dar es Salaam, where it's currently 23. Sunny conditions at 5 in Joburg, highs of 15, and rain showers continue in Lagos at 24, going to highs of 28. It's 19 degrees and it's sunny in Kinshasa. We'll see highs of 31, lows of 19. All right, so looking at a few minutes after 8:30 and traffic still continuing in some parts. Not so bad on the Thika Superhighway this morning. We're just looking at that Pangani stretch and that's where we'll have the most traffic. Looking a lot better now on Rilo Dinga Way, but it still continues on Langata Road. Not so bad actually today. Getting out towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabout is where you'll see some traffic. But looking on the eastern side of the city, Outer Ring doesn't look too bad. Then trying to connect with the Thika Superhighway, which incidentally just past the Utali Drift is where you see the most of the traffic. Joga Road still continues getting out towards Kamkunji, where that crazy traffic is on Landis Road inbound, and then Haile Selassie still continues with traffic this morning. Other than that, you should be all right. The eastern bypass has a little bit of a mess. Actually, that's not true. Quite a lot of a mess. Then trying to connect, going round towards Outer Ring. Keep an eye on things this morning. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
27 minutes to 9. Kenya's biggest conversation continues online, on radio and on TV. Mwende Gatabaki is our guest this morning. She's a gubernatorial candidate for Kiambu County. Mwende, you talked about water, environment, sanitation as one of your key programs. I'm big on this issue of sanitation. If you look, like you've said, Kiambu is the bedroom of Nairobi. There have been very many mushrooming settlements that have come up in previous farms. If you look at all these areas, Ruaka, Kabete, Kikuyu, Limuru, go down into Thika.
I would venture
everywhere.
to go come to Runda.
All the way, right? The sewer connection is wanting. What plans do you have for sanitation for Kiambu County?
Actually, that is an understatement, that the sewer is wanting. We are severely, it's not existing. Because what happened was, what we have is something which was done, I believe, around 1978 or thereabout, whose capacity has totally overwhelmed, totally. So that you find almost in every town in Kiambu, the sewerage system is it's not there. And so there's a combination of things here. There's a drainage which is working, which is also not there. Places like in Thika, when it rains, it floods so much that children don't go to school. Other places you find the combination of a sewer. The sewer gets discharged at, like where I come from in Gedongori, you find that they discharge the sewer at night, So then when it rains, that whole combination, the drainage water, where does it all end up to? Going to our rivers. So the whole idea of saying we even have clean water does not exist anymore, because you don't know how clean, So one of my programs is actually to, first of all, just do a proper mapping on the lay of the land in Kiambu. Where are the towns? The capacity of each town, population-wise, and what's happening there, and actually come up with a holistic plan of how we are going to overhaul the sewerage, the drainage and sewerage system. And it's closely related with our waste management system, because you see everything, it's ending up, going to the same place, and the whole place getting very basically not good and not smelling good also. So it's just having a whole holistic plan for Kiambu on the sewerage, the drainage, the waste management, having a comprehensive program for Nairobi. That's what I plan to do. For Kiambu, that's what I plan to do.
Kiambu.
Yes.
How much does Kiambu receive in budgetary allocation from the Division of Revenues?
We normally would get, I would say, looking at the past records, it should be between 12 billion. But I'm seeing the budget for this financial year is actually like 16 billion. I mean, you don't always get, everything that you've budgeted for. But we also have other sources of incomes, for example, from donors. We do get some grant funding. And we also get our internally generated revenue, what we call the own source revenue.
How much does Kiambu generate in own source revenue? In
own source revenue, right now we've gone down to 1.3. During the first government, it had actually gone up to 2.7 billion. But right now we've gone to 1.3 billion, which is very low.
What's the potential?
When we were at 2.7 billion, that was 18% of the potential.
18?
18, 18% of its potential. So basically absolutely. So basically what we are saying, we should be able to getting about 14 billion from internally generated revenue.
And then what's the budget that Kiambu Executive operates with?
Right now, it's 16 for this financial year, for this fiscal year.
Which means if you actually collected your revenue as you should, you can more or less just run the county with your own funds.
On a surplus.
Actually, what it says from the commission, from the Revenue Commission, Kiambu is one of those counties that can actually manage 80% of its budget. Or rather, it can use what it collects can run
80% of its budget.
Absolutely.
If you look at Kiambu, I mean, the way Kiambu is positioned, there are those that were traditional industrial towns. Roiro is one of them. Thika is another. Juja. And then you've now seen others that have become very residential areas, like Ruaka, that has become a very big residential area.
Yeah.
What plans do you have for this? What plans when you talk about, let's bring in the hospitality sector into Kiambu County? How about industry and manufacturing? What plans do you have?
Yeah. So I would put it in there. When I talk about two things, under the economic pillar, I have industrialization. This is where we are creating, that's where the manufacturing is coming in. This is where agro-processing is coming in. This is where we are boosting our textile industries. This is where we are boosting what we have in Thika, Ruiru, Juja. Okay, there is that side. But another pillar is planned urbanization. Because we are urbanizing very fast, and because of that proximity to Nairobi, and we need to actually leverage on that. That's why Kikuyu today is actually one of the fastest urbanizing towns. You mentioned Kiamba, the Ruaka side. But we need to also balance with our food production, and I'll tell you what I mean. I went to Kikuyu. Yes, it looks very good. Very nice residential areas. The roads are very good. But guess what? They have no food. They completely have no food because they changed, that whole change from agricultural land to very urbanized place. They have no food. After COVID, people moved out of the houses. This is where they were getting, income from. There's a slight distinction between agriculture and food security. Food security, agriculture is a production itself. Food security is the money you get. For example, you're doing fish farming and you don't eat fish, but you get money from that fish to buy the food of your choice. So what is happening when they became very urbanized, okay, it was okay because they were getting money from the rent, to buy the food that they wanted. But now when people moved out of their flats, they don't have land to do their vegetables and they don't have money coming from, so they have no income to actually buy food. So we have to, in Kiambu, we must balance that. So the agricultural place, the Limuru, the Lari, we must really boost agricultural productivity so that the people in Kikuyu, the very urbanized, the Ruaka, they are,
have access to food.
Exactly. So it's doing that balancing. So I do have the two pillars, planned urbanization, okay, but also industrialization. This is where I'm talking about cottage industries. I'm talking about boosting small businesses. I'm talking about those manufacturing plants. Agro processing is a big thing. Agriculture is really the backbone of the Kiambu economy, and it's taking it to the next step. Let's have a value chain for every product. If it's potatoes, why sell it in sacks? Let's have package. We are processing chips. We package it and it's ready to take to Nairobi, Mombasa, wherever. Something like greens. I went for a funeral service yesterday, a funeral actually. Then I found at the home they had cooked a lot of ugali and sukuma wiki. I liked the way they had cut the sukuma wiki. And I told them, this is what we'll be doing. We'll be cutting sukuma wiki like this. It's nice and fresh. We package it and straight away we have containers in every estate in Nairobi for greens. So that I'm coming from work in Nairobi, I buy my greens, my skuma already nicely cut. When I get home, it's just cooking and, it's ready to go. And we use
produce of Kiambu.
Yes. And it's you can see it's either Lari, Limuru. So it's not these nice vegetables which we are told they are from Nairobi River,
Right. So even as you talk about these things, I mean, it's great to hear. The question then from in my mind is then, have there been instances or situations, not necessarily just in Kiambu County, where you've been involved in some of these things that you talk about? Because the actual implementation of something is very different from having the idea in your mind.
Yep. Absolutely. Actually, that's a very good question because it's the implementation that is where the rubber meets the road. I did this in 2004, the Kenya Tea Development Agency. Kenya's tea, this is where you have the smallholder tea farmers. And this is the organization that actually exports Kenya's 80% of our black teas. I joined KTDA in 2004 when smallholder farmers were uprooting their tea. They were pissed off. They were saying it's not making money anymore. I brought in the whole digital transformation of smallholder tea farming value chain. All the way from how they plant the tea bushes, how the fertilizer is distributed, how it's taken to the buying center, how it's taken to the factory, processed to tea, taken to the warehouses in Mombasa and sold at the auction. The whole shebang. And what that did, it did some specific things. For example, we reduced the number of ghost growers. The people who used to earn from tea, and they had no tea bushes. Okay, and I'm talking about big numbers, like 50,000. So that straight away, farmers began to earn a little bit more money from their tea. And they were saying, well, you're giving us more money. No, actually, it's your money. It's just that it was being stolen. Then you reduce tea losses between, let's say, the buying center and the factory, because tea would also get lost there. You start, because you go through the equipment, the whole processing chain, and you improve the tea that actually, tea is graded. It has like 4 different grades. You start increasing the top grade. Yeah, not because you've done anything else, but this equipment that you're using, you start fine-tuning it to produce higher grades of tea. So that what happened was it had a fundamental impact on the incomes, for the smallholder farmers. And of course, in Kiambu, agriculture being the backbone, if you increase the incomes, in fact, it was like 35%. If you increase the incomes for smallholder farmers, who are 90% of the farmers in Kiambu, you see a big boost of the economy, And that project was recognized globally. So KTDA became the first agribusiness globally to win a technology award in the USA. Okay, it was that huge an impact. So yes, I'm ready to do the same with Kiambu. Let me also note something else. The turnover of KTDA is about 80 billion. Part of the digital transformation is to make sure when you minus the cost of production, that money goes back to the farmers. Now we are talking about a budget for Kiambu. We are talking about a budget of, let's say, even 16 billion. Let's say we get all the money for the budget, 16 billion. You can see the difference. If I could manage KTDA's turnover of 80 billion, Kiambu for me 16 billion. This is something I'll be able to do and do extremely well. So I want to replicate what I did with KTDA to Kiambu.
Okay.
And I know I can do it.
In the county, we have very many other streams that would require the attention of a CEO.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So, whereby one would say that with KTDA, we were working with a stream, though it had different components from administration to finance, etc., etc. Here we are working with different components. We're working with infrastructure, working with health, county education, development like you're talking about, the county economy, across board. Apart from that, you're also working with different entities in terms of human beings who also then run, you're talking about a county assembly, etc., etc. Do you think that the same tenets then apply? If you're able to handle that one stream, then it would be applicable across these others.
Okay. Just a little bit of a correction there. KTDA being who it is, actually KTDA is a small Kenya. When it comes to the politics of KTDA, in fact, we talk about east of Rift, west of Rift. When we talk about tea in Kenya, growing of tea in Kenya, this is one of our pride and joy, tea from Kenya, yeah? So KTDA actually has as many stakeholders as a county, it's very similar to a county. But now coming back to KTDA being an organization, this is a county. So first of all, what it does, it helps you in structuring. You can have a very good plan, but if you don't have a structure, an organizational structure to execute it, then you will fail. So we replicate a similar, at a county level, the structure will be a bit different. So you'll have, for example, I've also looked at the most kind of structure that I would want to have in Kiambu. So of course there is education, there is agriculture, the different structural elements, there is trade, there is administration and corporate services. So you first of all structure the county in a manner that it can execute, the development plan for the county. In addition to that, like you rightly mentioned, there are the different stakeholders. So you have the MCS, for example, you have the county assembly. The relationship between the executive and the county assembly also needs to be rebuilt, because what has been happening is issues between the executive county and the assembly, and rightly so. I mean, in the sense that this is some of the things that led to the impeachment of a governor, and it doesn't mean he was doing this by himself. I'm sure there are people also in the county assembly who are also involved in that. So the forming strong working relationships, but making sure that their role of oversight is actually, they keep to their role of oversight, so that you don't think you're all in this together. No, they have their clear role, and you make sure that is enforced. And then you make sure the role of the executive is also enforced and well understood, so everybody understands what their role is. But then you also have the public, the people who live in Kiambu. Yeah, their participation is very key. If you're talking about budget, their participation in saying, actually, yes, that is true. Those are the key priorities of Kiambu. So they are the different stakeholders finding out, being able to identify what are their key roles, and being able to get everybody to participate in the development of Kiambu. Yeah.
If you are an evangelist, and I was in the audience listening to you,
you'd hit the altar call.
Actually, I would get converted that very same day. But then this is politics, and you're a politician. Now, if Kiambu is like other counties, when one is campaigning and seeking this electoral post, you have to work with MCAs. And you have to have MCAs supporting you so that they can help galvanize people to support you.
That's true.
Okay? Can I assume that you have such support? I've got 3 questions for you. That's question number 1. Okay. It's an easy yes or no question. Now, if indeed you do, when you mentioned that there are women who, we call them amafua, my heart took a little step, a little beat. Because are we saying that the smallholder farmers in Kiambu no longer exist? Because are we saying this is what people have gotten into? Because I understand it's an urban problem. But by the time somebody living in the rural areas has to go to work to wash people's clothes, it means they probably don't have land to till, and they don't have whatever they used to have before. But discussion for another day. How do you plan to win this seat? The planning I've understood.
Yeah.
With the planning, I was going to ask how many urban planners you've involved, because to do everything that you're talking about, urban planners have to be involved. So I've compressed my questions. How do you plan to win?
It's a very good question. But let me step a little bit back and say, we, as a country, we are going through a very interesting stage. Kiambu has been in this, whereby during every election, Kiambu gets very, very divided. Because, politics, we take politics to heart. If it's this one versus this one, if it's Raila versus, today it's Raila versus Ruto. And you'll find that is going all the way down. Everybody is saying, so which side are you? Before they even ask you, what are you running for? Which side are you? So, and what I'm telling my people is, after elections, you'll be left with 2 people, the governor and the FCAs. So I would even suggest that you start focusing more on the people you have running for governors and the people you have running for MCAs. Because those are really the ones you'll be left with, not at the top here. But I'm also saying, even when you're looking at the top here, please look at, you know your issues. Right now, you're struggling to put food on the table. Look at the person who is talking to your issues, who is addressing your issues. The youth, I'm telling them, unemployment is real in Kiambu. Look at the person who is thinking about you in terms of employment. But coming back to your question, you find that right now, nobody wants to say they are siding with you because they don't know who you're siding with up there. Or no, you understand? So, and also, you don't want to go to, let's say today I'm going to Juja. I don't want to say, I'll work with so-and-so and so-and-so, because I might find people on the ground, they don't like the people I'm trying to work with. So right now at this stage, you must really, first of all, go out there yourself, be known as you, before you start riding on somebody else. That is one. Secondly, it's true that it's very important to work with MCAs. but not before the elections. I'll tell you why. Some of their ideas might not be what you want to achieve. Some of them might already be thinking on to making money, and that's not in your agenda. You know. So if you're going to pick the people that you work with in this, then you must be aligned, on a few things.
And what about people whose thinking is aligned to yours? Because there must be some people.
Yes.
Kiambu is a huge county.
That is true.
Yes, and there are many people, and there are many MCAs. So there must be some whose thinking the line to yours.
Yeah, so those ones we gel very well. So in fact, right now I even have invitations of, can you come to Kiamba? We'll arrange this and this and this. Can you come to this? So that's already happening. That alignment is actually already happening. Okay, regardless of the other, the party politics, etc.
Do you think the voter will overcome this dependency they have for who is running for president and their alignment and preference for the presidential candidate and the party? Do you think they will be able to move away from this and consider an independent candidate such as yourself?
I would say, okay, correction. I'm actually not independent. I'm actually running on Safina Party.
Okay.
And it's not Safina Independent Party.
It has its alignment.
Safina.
Safina is Safina, and my chairman is Paul Mwite, and he takes a strong stand, and so that's why I'm lying there, so that I'm not fearing that he would move, he would shift camps or declare, to be somebody else. He's not. I know him as who he is, and I know when he takes a stand, which he already has, that's a stand, and things will not change. But let me come back to your question. Will people really believe in individuals? So we have two issues here. We have party politics, okay, and we have politics of personalities, okay. Let me add the third one. I want Kiambu to move to politics of issues. What are the issues affecting them? Okay, because parties, what do parties do for you? They never build anything. They never do anything really. What do parties do for people? Nothing. Nothing, actually.
They get you votes. Or deny you votes.
You tell us, you're in a party.
No, I'm thinking not. Kiambu, I think we've changed. I've talked to many people in Kiambu, and they're saying exactly that. In fact, you look at the people who've come to Kiambu to talk about 6Ps, they've been shouted down. Anybody, including Martha Karua, when she tried to say 6Ps, no, she was told, no, we like you. But please don't tell us how to vote for our people. Don't tell us. We are intelligent people. We can make our own decisions. Don't tell us to vote for parties.
You see why I asked the question the way I did? You sound like an independent candidate. Because you seem to have an aversion for what we refer to as party politics. Because really, whether it's a small party or a big party, it's a political party. That's why I asked the question.
Okay.
Are people ready to elect an independent candidate?
An independent thinker.
They are. I would say they are. But let me tell you something else, and why you might find my responses the way they are. I've always believed that. How have I made it to where I am today? When we started this, we had about 26 women running for governor positions.
20 how many?
26 when we started.
Across the country?
Okay, across the country, nationally.
For a moment today, I thought in Kiambu, and I was thinking 26.
No,
God.
across the country, in Kenya. Today we are about 8. Okay? First of all, party nominations is a slaughterhouse for women. That's when more than half were left out. Why? Because most of the secretariats are men. And let's face it. And if you're an outspoken woman like I am, very few people will want you to be near where you're going to be a bit of a spoiler. And you'll be pointing out things and saying it as it is. Okay? So that is one. Initially, actually, and I can tell you the truth, is that I started as an independent because I thought Martha Karua would run as a third force, okay? And I was waiting to join her. But the minute she now went to Azmio, and it's very, very good for her, by the way, okay? I realized, no, that wouldn't work for me because then I'll be made to also step down for somebody else, or, I'll be made to deputize somebody else. And I was not ready to do that. So I approached Safina, Paul Mwite, and I said, this is the situation. And he agreed, and he's been very, very, very supportive to me. I would say, actually, that's what has made me survive up to here, up to this point. Are people listening to me as an individual person who they don't know I'm not aligned to Azimio or to UDA? Yes, they are. Right now, I have people on the ground saying, but we've seen you on TV. We've seen you,
We're seeing you articulating issues. Come and visit us.
Yes.
I want to conclude the conversation
Yes.
one day, but I've got to ask you this question.
Yeah.
You come from the big Gatabaki family, very vocal in terms of politics, not just of Kiambu, but of the country. Your husband has been very vocal on matters of national governance. It's Dr. David Day. He is deep there in Kenya Kwanza. You are here in Safina. How do you have conversations at home?
At home.
Yeah. Who's voting where?
Assuming we talk at home, yeah? Actually, we do. It's a very good, again, it's a very good question, but maybe not for this forum because, you know, I always tell my husband, why is it when you're on radio, when you're on TV, people don't ask you about your wife, but me, every time I appear, people ask me about my husband. So I'm saying I will not be answering questions about my husband until you start asking him about me, okay?
We will send you to him because we've been inviting him here to come, so we can ask him about you.
And he hasn't come.
Okay, I'll take that message.
Wende, thank you very much for joining us. Wende Gatabaki wants to be the next governor of Kiambu County. She's running on a Safina ticket. She's on the ballot. She's going to be on the ballot. And she says she's got big plans for Kiambu. The people of Kiambu, you've heard, you've listened. If you've got any questions, you can reach out to Wende. She'll be coming around to you. Engage with her. Thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. We are on into the third hour, but we've been live on KTN Home, where we're taking a break now. The conversations continue on SpiceFM. It's 9 o'clock.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is Newsone Dennis Aseto. Kiambu gubernatorial candidate Wende Gatabaki now says that the story of Kiambu is a sad one that needs to be changed. She says that Kiambu, which has been a model for the country, has stopped towering and has instead become a place where drug and alcohol abuse have become a normal thing.
Kiambu used to be the cradle of leadership. If you look at the first president of this country, if you look at all the people around him, they were actually from Kiambu. And for the longest, Kiambu, they were the conveners, you know, the Jenga Karumes. If Jenga Karume wanted 1,000 men from across the country, he would convene. Today, we don't have anybody, not even one, with that convening power. We lost out in the sense that there was nobody to keep the fire burning. There was nobody to continue with those leadership credentials. The vision of Kiambu, which our forefathers had, there was nobody to provide it continuity. It's very true. What you see today are leaders, for example, who stand in front of people and insult women or insult each other. So we've really gone completely downhill.
She says that the failures of the past administrations in Kiambu have been the push that ignited her will and zeal to change the narrative.
The last 5 years, when we got the last governor, the governor who was impeached, when he became governor, I looked at it and I said,
"You snapped."
No, wait. I mean, really, Kiambu? No. That was when I made that decision. The top issues that I see in Kiambu. So one is lack of leadership, providing direction, strategic direction. The second one is the social issues that we are having today. The alcohol and drug abuse, the rape, the suicide rate. I think we have the highest suicide rate in the country. And social issues in general. Things like domestic violence is becoming a norm. Rape is becoming a norm. I was talking with women from Kiamba and they told me where they work during the day, they go to wash clothes to different houses washing clothes. Rape is normal.
She says that in her plan is to ensure that unemployment in the county is addressed by including the youth in decision making.
There's something else I want to do about unemployment because we have a very high rate of unemployment in Kiambu. We talk a lot about youth, but we never really involve them in decision making or even in discussions about their problems and the solutions to their problems. They know better about their problems and the solutions to their problems. So one of the things I want to do, which is different from anybody else, what has been done before, is create a youth assembly. We have a county assembly. So in my government, there'll be a county assembly, but there will be a youth assembly with a representative from every ward so that they can discuss their issues. We can come up with solutions. I can facilitate implementation of what they are proposing. And that way, I'm able to engage the youth. I mean, they're very intelligent people.
Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja has maintained that he has completed his university studies at Team University in Uganda. In an interview with SpiceFM, Sakaja said he studied at Team University after he failed to complete his studies at the University of Nairobi due to lack of school fees. He says that his political journey started back in 2007 while still in university as President Kibaki's driver, where he had an opportunity of meeting with the sitting President Uhuru Kenyatta.
As a young person, and now of course you're earning something and you're being utilized. President Kibaki really, we became quite close. He depended on me on a few things. I played a very central role towards the end of his election. And in the beginning of the fresh year, I met Uhuru Kenyatta. I'd already started a side hustle in Nairobi. And so time moved. I felt too shy because when I joined Treasury to work with President Kenyatta, I really couldn't get the job because I didn't have the credential. And I said, oh my God, now what do I do? Do I go back or do I start another process? I saw something online which, through, distance and all those details will be brought out in court. I started doing that because I just was too shy and embarrassed to go back to class. Yeah, simple as that.
He says that he's being targeted for being involved as Deputy President William Ruto in Kenya Kwanza, but maintains that he will be on the ballot on August 9th.
So this is nothing. And I've been ready for it. And I'm ready for whatever it takes. Because I know the cost and the journey and the cross that it takes to get to leadership positions. No one has had it easy. Nairobi as an economy commands, a huge percentage of our GDP.
His statement coming just a day after the Commission of University Education officially revoked the recognition of his degree from Uganda's Team University. CUE, in a letter to the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, Chairperson Afula Chebukati, dated June 29th, said the decision was arrived at following the conclusion of investigations into the matter. Among the information the Commission had sought from Sakaja for the purposes of its investigations included letter of admission from Team University, course units and dates studied for verifying instructional hours and workload requirements, transcripts, receipts for fee payments, names of lecturers who taught him, graduation booklet, and any communication between himself and the university staff concerning his studies. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
A few minutes after 9 o'clock, and we're still looking at traffic in certain parts of the city today. The CBD, probably where you'll see the most of it. Other parts, not so bad actually. Not too bad for Friday and the beginning of the month and going into the weekend. Jogoro is also it's pretty packed. To looking at that whole area going towards Landis Road. Had an issue earlier and it's still the thing. Haile Selassie in and outbound traffic continues. Let's look at Westlands because that was looking really messy earlier. Coming off James Gishuru, not too bad right now, and then on to Waiyaki Way. That's okay. Coming off Thika Superhighway, we're looking at that Pangani stretch. Then had an issue from 5:30 this morning. Still, we're dealing with the dregs of that. So you might want to watch out if you're going in that direction. You might want to think again. So traffic hour end about half an hour or so. Let's keep an eye on things and see what's happening, what's cooking where you are. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
7 minutes after 9, we are on to the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. It's Friday. It's the first day of July. It's still 2022. City, Ati, what's that proverb again?
You cannot dance well with one leg.
And,
but you can hop very well.
You cannot dance well with one leg.
Yes.
Okay. I won't argue much. Kama umesema ni sawa.
In the kingdom
Oh, wow.
of the, who is king?
The lion. The animal kingdom, Mama, which kingdom?
You go around watching animations with your children. It is good.
Which kingdom are we talking about?
In the kingdom of the blind, a one-eyed person is king. So now I was thinking of, in which kingdom is a one-legged person king?
In which kingdom? In which kingdom?
In whose hand? Sorry.
Are you safe?
Are you safe in the hands of the manifesto?
Where?
Are you safe in the hands of the charter?
Are you safe in the hands of the one who is spilling the words of said manifesto or charter?
Are you safe in the hands of somebody who's been in power and has promised before? Because all these leaders have promised before. Is it time to look at that scorecard and say, okay, fine, thank you. We like the promises. Now let's look at previous promises. Let's align them with the deeds that were supposed to follow these promises. And what do we see when we do that?
So we've seen 3 different manifestos being launched so far. I haven't seen Waihiga Mwaura releasing his manifesto. Am I right or am I wrong?
Remember that?
Remember that? Team David Waihiga Mwaura, Agano Party Press. I haven't seen that. Anyway, so we know that Azimio Raila Odinga has released his manifesto. William Ruto of Kenya Kwanza has released his manifesto. Professor George Wajakoya of Roots Party released his manifesto yesterday. Each of them is speaking their areas where they converge. They are all talking about social issues, economic issues. The how is where the differences emerge. How am I going to go about this? If it's about the economy, Raila goes big on industrialization. He says 1 industry per county. He says very many other things on how industrialization could work. Then he talks about the social side, the social pillar, social protection program. He talks about universal health coverage, but he calls it Baba Care. Goes big on that and says, this is where I'm going to concentrate and focus on and making sure that everybody has access to proper health care. William Ruto has similar things. He talks about UHC and he says that UHC, mandatory, NHIF, everybody will have access to NHIF, everybody will contribute to NHIF. It's already in law. That is what the law currently says. It says it's going to implement this fully. Going to expand the number of health facilities across the country with the KNH style level 6 hospitals, 6 new ones in the country, recruiting more teachers, recruiting more healthcare workers, all those things. When it comes to industrialization, investing a lot in food security and agriculture, and it says this has going to be the biggest multiply effect on the country's economy with agribusiness, value addition, processing, industrialization. They're talking big. Wajakoya, focus, guys. We have the potential. We can grow stuff here and export and earn. Grow herb, export it. We earn money. We have snake venom. It's a big issue across the country. Let's look at what we can do. We can actually export a lot. And we can do very many other things into cutting down on our excesses and expenditure and fighting corruption. He has been the one who speaks specific about fighting corruption and exactly what he will do. Hang them.
Indeed.
Take them to the gallows.
As we listen or hear these different manifestos that are coming out, it's interesting that the manifestos then are made, except for maybe the last one that you've mentioned, around what the supposed expectations of people are. Many could argue that the Kenya Kwanza manifesto that we saw being released the other day was after these different caucuses. We saw them, sit with people, hear what they had to say, and then that would then contribute to the one full thing that they were going to present. So what are the people saying? If this is what the people are saying, and this is what I think I can do in terms of governance, then I put the two together and I come and I present to you and I say, it is upon this then that I will run the government should you give me an opportunity to. And is that really these documents that we have seen, because essentially it's a promise, right? The manifesto is a promise of what you're going to do if you get the position. So these documents that we have seen, are they really a reflection of what the heartbeat or what the pulse is of the nation at this point? Is it what Kenyans are saying they need? On a daily, when they wake up in the morning and they say, look, in terms of the development of this country, we need 1, 2, 3. And are these manifestos that we haven't seen brought to Kenyans in the last, give or take, 3 weeks, are they a reflection of what the pulse of the nation is today? Are they in tune? Or is it just, pulling stuff out of the clouds because it's what you think you can do best? In my opinion, anything that you say you want to do with the people has to be a reflection of their today problem and their tomorrow's aspirations.
Yeah. They're addressing the people.
No. We know they're addressing the people.
Yeah.
Are they addressing the issues? Are they a reflection of the issues that Kenyans today believe are important to them?
I think so. I think so. I think they reflect what the pain points are for people. Cost of living, food security, job opportunities. Where are they going to come from? When you say create jobs, you've got to have the enablers for job creation. What is it? Is it manufacturing? Is it agro-processing? Is it industrialization? Is it having things being done? So if you look at all of them, they have stopped focusing on infrastructure. Infrastructure, we've got into a certain point. Okay. Now the country is opened up. Now it's about investing so that we can utilize the infrastructure in place. All the candidates are talking about those things now. I think the fact that I hear all of them bringing in the economic angle, put aside the issue of whether we can afford it with the kind of debts that we have, but the issue of, do we need to industrialize this country? Yes, we do need to industrialize this country. What does that do? It gives people jobs, creates opportunities. After you create opportunities, you're giving people what Mwende Katabaki was telling us, the capability to buy yourself food. And then you look on the other side, are you developing food production? Yes, food production is being taken care of, and not just raw food production, but food production and value addition. I think they're addressing the things that are touching on people's lives today. It's how they are packaging the solutions that may sound one slightly different from the other in terms of the actual implementation plan, but they're the same.
They're touching on issues. Yeah, true. That's what I'm saying. I think similar threads run through the different ones that we have seen so far. Similar threads run through. Even those that may seem, a little bit out the window, still addresses commercial issues, still addresses economical issues, that employment and lack thereof. So then the question, I think, going beyond that is that, are they believable in terms of the implementation? Do Kenyans really believe that the people who are coming and promising things that touch on their very lives on a daily basis, do they believe that they will actually be done? Because the hope then is that if you do believe, you will vote in that direction. And if you don't believe, then you will not. And that you will seek out the one who will at least come very close to delivering on those things which they said they're going to do. Do Kenyans believe at this point, because we're 38 days into, do Kenyans believe that these promises, in the manner in which they are being delivered, in the manner in which they are being given, will be delivered?
Do you think they're achievable? These lofty ideas and plans, do you think they're achievable? Do you think not?
Yeah, I think that's the pain point, though, Eric. I think that really is the pain point. Because the manner in which they're being promised, they are achievable. The question is, when and how will you then take this achievable thing and actually do it? It's not for lack of trying. It's not for lack of effort. It's not for lack of expertise or intelligence. But will you actually do it then once given the position that enables you to do it? And I think, unfortunately, historically, it has been that these things are so achievable, that have been achievable across the world, then for some reason get lost in
somewhere.
Yeah, and then it's not done.
I think the taste of the pudding is in the eating, right?
So we're told.
The implementation of this and the implementation plan for it is what would be important. None of these candidates is telling us what's the first priority. How are you prioritizing these projects or these deliverables? What do you start with? What becomes an enabler for others to be then realized? If, for example, you said, that the first thing I want to do is increase the budget on food production. Remember, agriculture is devolved and all those things.
Yes.
Increase the budget on food production or increase the budget on health. And then once we get here, we get to this point. Or increase access to power and cheap power to the people so that then industries can sprout across the country and we support the industrialization. Then with industrialization, you have job creation. With job creation, you have blah, 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 blah. This will be have the multiplier effect. Okay. The same way that Ruto was saying that agriculture for him would have the biggest multiplier effect. The same way that Raila was saying for him, industrialization would have the biggest multiplier effect. Does it mean that this is what they want to start with? Does it mean that if Raila comes in, the first thing that he wants to do in the first year is to see how to establish this one industry per county and have those industries, the conversations taking place, the industry is being supported, the industry is starting, the industry is being funded, the industry is employing, and then now we move into the next, third, fourth. Without that kind of plan, clarity for all of us, that's why we'll always sit back and ask ourselves, but you promised.
Right. And then also being able to look at things in terms of priority. I mean, I liken it to if you're going to then try to renovate a building that's falling down and you go into it first and there's still people who are living in this building. But over years, it has really fallen apart. And you realize, look, we don't have another building. This is the building that we have and we've got to fix it to make it work. Where are you going to start? The people are still living in the building. They must still operate. Where will you start from? I mean, you can say, well, we're going to have a lawn, we're going to have a playground, we're going to have skylights, put lights in, water, this kind of thing. But what is important in terms of priority to begin with? So where we are today, to keep your people alive, to keep your borders safe, to then start to get things running. And you can say, because that's what manifestos are essentially. Manifestos come and they give you this blueprint of this now building that's falling apart, and we're coming to say how we're going to fix it, right? But then how are you going to keep the people within the building alive? Because it's important. There's no other building. So in terms of priority, and you look at Kenya today, what needs to be done today? And if it's true, whoever comes into this position later doesn't handle all these things, they failed.
They
failed.
The true mark of doing whatever all these would-be, wannabe presidents, in my mind, ought to be telling us is how practically they are going to get Kenya to a position where we can enjoy something called a revenue surplus. Okay? Meaning, we have tightened the screws, we've increased efficiency, the money we are generating, the money we are collecting, the things we are doing, it's being reinvested so that the economy just keeps growing, not diminishing. And as it grows, it means the tax collector will have more to actually collect. To the point where we are able to do what we want to do ostensibly with our own resources. Now, this is not a pipe dream. President Kibaki got us there. This vision of a situation where, as we call it, own source revenue, where we could look at our own source revenue and say, you know something, we can actually do most of our work with our own source revenue, most of it. Because the 10 years we've had, going to 10 years of this government, the complete opposite is what has happened. Complete and absolute opposite is what has happened. We have gotten to a point where that we are so dependent. We've been pushed to a dependency on other people's money to the point where the question is, how do you get out of it? It is not an impossibility if one is willing to roll up the sleeves and actually do what needs to do. Yes, it is not an impossibility. Why? Not because of them. No. Because the leaders of this country don't seem to appreciate just how fortunate they are to have the citizenry that they have in Kenya. A people who do precisely that. They roll up their sleeves and they work. If this country didn't have people who do that, we would have gone to the dogs a long time ago. It is pilfered, we still move on. It is taken God knows where, we still move on. Again, if I may put it simply, you can't steal something that doesn't exist. So it means it exists.
It's there.
Now, all these plans are the sort of plans that even countries have for their nations. They say, this is what we plan to do. The fundamental is they do it. So you can actually measure the outcome of what they wanted.
Yeah.
The big projects that could bring about the changes It's not that they're not implemented. They are, but the underlying thinking behind it is not for the development to do what it was supposed to do. It's a conduit. This is always the problem.
Yeah.
Even with the road being built, the railways being built, putting up some huge concern that should sort out our food security, water security, sorting out issues of huge dams. All these things, it's not that the projects don't even begin. They do begin. But something always happens, which means if every project that was mentioned, let's say 80 to 90% of it had been accomplished by this particular government, the conversation we're having now would be very different. So the question is, these people who want to now come in, fine, we've heard. We have heard. We always hear. But are these manifestos a guarantee that we will actually see these things being done?
Not a guarantee.
Not a guarantee.
Definitely not a guarantee. It's like a statement of intent.
Yes.
And because it has nothing, it does not have any... It's like a proposal.
There's no fail-safe.
Yeah, it's like a proposal. You put down a proposal and then you're told, all right, so I think I like the proposal. Now give me the project implementation document. Where you come in now and say, so this is what it will require. This is where I'll start. This is the budget for it. These are the timelines. These are the milestones. I will get there from this point to this point. Without that roadmap, it's just a dream. This is a wish list of a presidential candidate. I wish I could do this.
That's it.
Then you tell them, okay, go ahead and do it. The next thing you expect is for them to come and say, this is how I'll do it. Or, I wish I could do this and this is how I could do it if I was given the opportunity. They're not showing us the how. Ruto was explaining it, simplifying it and saying, so it's possible, this and this and the other. Raila has explained the same. When you ask him the 6,000 shillings, 2 million households, you're talking about 144 million shillings, billion shillings per year. And it's like, if we are losing 2 billion shillings per day, how much are we losing in a year?
Yeah.
All right? So, 144 billion shillings, if I just set aside 300 billion shillings, I can cover much more.
Yes.
So it's possible for me to just seal the loopholes of the 2 billion shillings that's lost on a daily basis, and then I'll be able to finance the 144 billion shillings that will go the 6,000 shillings to the 2 million household. Okay. How do you seal that loophole?
Actually, you've asked a valid question, Eric. How do you put into place a mechanism that determines that when we have these mega projects that the government plans and then begins to execute, how do we stop that money from getting into people's pockets instead of going to the projects for which it's intended? That is a simple question. How do you stop it? Because you have situations where you will find, for instance, somebody who is senior enough to determine whether money is released simply by appending the signature will not append their signature until they are sorted out, meaning they are given their share.
Nonsense.
Well, it's not complicated. It's how it works.
Yeah.
They'll frustrate an entire process, maybe of a department or of a ministry, simply because they haven't agreed on what they feel they should get.
Yep.
So, or the deal is delayed because whoever the investor is
has not talked nicely.
Yes. And talking nicely is a clanging sound needs to be heard somewhere. Yes. And or a rustling of paper so that they know that your intentions are serious. Now, so long as that is the pivotal point at which people who are office holders in high office think, how on earth do you think there's going to be change? Because even these leaders who are saying they bring change, they may intend to, but they're going to have people who think exactly like the ones who are in power right now. And there are some who make sure that their proximity to these people is so that when this person gets into power, they do exactly the same things that others before them were doing, maybe even on a larger scale. So how do you stop? Because it isn't that you will stop. How will you ensure that the people you have, because it's the people who make these decisions, that these people are held accountable and that they do not do the things that have been done to this country? How do you do it? Forget all these pieces of paper they keep throwing at us and telling us what they're going to do. I'm interested in the people who make things happen. How?
How do you get it done?
Yes, how?
And how do we hold you accountable for the promise that you've made? That's a big part. Because it all sounds very good. If you listen to Raila when he was releasing his manifesto, launching his manifesto, it sounded good. Okay, yeah, right.
Sounds very good.
Baba Care, universal health access, blah, 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 blah. So social protection program, people who are vulnerable households, they get supported. Instead of 2,000, we have data from KNBS. You need at least 6,000 shillings. So let's give them that at least 6,000 shillings a month, and it will sort them out. Sounds very, very good. Okay, manufacturing. So one industry, let's identify what are you good at here. Let's support you. Let's push you in that direction. Sounds good. Okay. When? The milestones. Without that, we are shooting in the dark. We've been doing that in the last 5 years, for example, 4 years, with the Big Four agenda. Shooting in the dark. We said food security. So what have we done? Yes, there's an agricultural transformation strategy being rolled out by the Agriculture Ministry. Okay, but how does that translate into food security? Oh, yes, we have all these houses. How?
You know, Eric, the conversation we had with one Madam Gatabaki, you see, when somebody can point to what they have done, when I was here, this is what I did, this is the change I brought into being. We had White and Zioka here. You listen to the things he's saying. Now, I have heard from reliable people who had close associations with the State House who say that when that man entered the office that he entered, suddenly the efficiency that they saw there was unparalleled. When an appointment was made, it was kept. Meaning, now you see what that does to the country. It means you have a State House which functions. And the person who's in charge of administration does their job. That's why I'm asking the question, who? When you say you're going to have somebody in Treasury, who is this person who, when you put on that seat, is the sort of person we can go to sleep knowing full well that he has the interest of the country at heart and he will make the decisions.
Or when you say this 2 billion is missing, that we're going to mop up all this money from corruption and then use it then to fund these things in the country, how are you going to do it? What are you going to do? Arrest all these corrupt folks? What are you going to do? Send them to court, ask them to pay back? Where are you going to get the money from? What are you going to do? That has not been done in the last 10 years. You know all the people who are corrupt right now. You know where the money, you know where the bleed is coming from. How are you going to stop the bleed? So that then you'll be able to see in Treasury's accounts, if there's such a thing, today, such person has been arrested. We've gotten the money back. Bank balance has gone up. Okay.
That sound again. How does it go up again? Okay, fine. Okay.
What are we talking about here? Because that's how granular we have to get. If you are saying, after all, 2 billion is stolen on a daily, what we're going to do is take that 2 billion and then we're going to be able to fund this 50 billion. We're going to be able to fund this 6,000. How are you going to do it? How are you going to stop the bleed? That is what you're going to have to tell people. That is what you're going to have to say. We're going to fight corruption and get the money back. How?
I'm taking it a step further. Who are you going to put in that position? Who can garner the confidence we need to say, okay, if so-and-so is on this job,
then it's possible.
Then, yeah, because we've seen what they've done before, so we know that this one is a change agent. We don't have to worry. But if you are going to bring status quo agents, people who entrench themselves and guarantee that the rot that has been there just gets worse, okay? Then unfortunately...
No mana.
Yes, kabisa.
0719-012-600. That's our phone number, 0719-012-600. We want you to call after this break, and we're asking you, do you think the manifestos presented by Raila Odinga, William Ruto, and George Wajakoya are achievable? Do you think the manifestos presented by Raila, Ruto, and Wajakoya are achievable? If you think yes, tell us which one. Tell us how. What makes you think that they are achievable? The Communications Authority has done a lot of work, City.
Indeed, they have. And we, in our capacity as broadcasters, understand this perhaps better than most people. And the reason is because, one, the content that we engage with every single day would not be possible if it wasn't for the licensing and if it wasn't for the systems that the Communication Authority enables. And when people enjoy, in the safety of their homes, broadcasting products, when they enjoy communication with each other on a daily basis, something we take for granted, all these things are made possible by the Communication Authority of Kenya. But we, again, as broadcasters, have to be very, very cognizant of the content that we produce, and we must be responsible for the things that we put forth, even as we enjoy the choices that have been made available by the same Communication Authority of Kenya.
27 minutes to 10. Let's take a break, take a look at the traffic and weather, and then we'll pick your calls. 0719 012 600.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This nation has never healed genuinely from the 2000-2008 violence. We've never had a healing process. We've swept it under the rug.
Let me tell you, the handshake was the most disastrous political event in the history of country after the coup attempt of 1982.
There's no Kikuyu pothole, Luo lack of water,
Right.
or Kamba, lack of traffic.
Yeah.
There is no Luya lack of drugs in the hospitals. Or Jaluo one. All our issues are the same issues.
If you are in a room and just about everybody in that room has a court case or another, what impression does that give you?
What are you saying? Why haven't you done it in the last 20 years? But they're telling us, like August, some miracle is going to happen. My friend, I want to tell Kenyans you'll be in for a rude shock.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi today. We will see highs of 21 and lows of 13. We're looking at sunny conditions in most parts of Nakuru at 16, highs of 25 and lows of 13. Cloudy at 16 in Nyeri, highs of 20 and lows of 13. And it's mostly sunny at 17 in Eldoret, highs of 23 and lows of 13. The rain is still coming in Mombasa, highs of 27 and lows of 23. And we'll see highs of 26 and lows of 24 in a rainy Malindi. 22 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 28 and lows of 18. And Kakamega is cloudy at 23, highs of 27 and lows of 18. Mostly sunny conditions at 23 in Kampala, highs of 26 and lows of 18. And Dar es Salaam is raining at 24, highs of 29 and lows of 22. 9 degrees and sunny in Joburg, highs of 15, lows of 3. And it's raining in Lagos at 23. It'll go to highs of 28. 31 will be the high in Kinshasa. It's currently sunny at 22. Let's look out into Beijing, where afternoon Friday is 30 degrees and sunny. We'll see lows of 22 and 14 and sunny in Paris, highs of 23. 22 will be the high in London, where it's sunny at 15 and clear conditions. Still Sunday night, New York at 24. Coming into Friday, we'll see highs of 34.
Spice up your life.
Doesn't look too bad in most parts of Nairobi this morning. Traffic seems to have ended most parts. Jogo Road still really crazy, guys, as you're going out towards Landis. And then the whole of Haile Selassie Avenue in both directions, jam-packed. Langata Road still really busy now. And we're looking at Ngong Road. Yes, that's what it is. Really busy today as well. Coming out of Westlands, that looks a little bit easier than it was previously. James Gishiru, dot of traffic as you're getting towards Waiaki Way. Thika Superhighway, ebbing and flowing. Last dregs of traffic, but we're still looking at a bumper-to-bumper situation past through the Utali Drift. Talk to us through the morning, guys. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Business news with Spice FM.
I'm Dennis Aseto. You will from today start importing mobile phones at a higher price after a new duty was imposed on the gadgets. The duty, which is included in the Finance Act of 2022, was assented into law by President Uhuru Kenyatta on Tuesday, June 21st. The bill imposed a 10% duty on importation of mobile phones, and calculations will be based on the cost of mobile phones ordered into the country and other levies. The suspension of levies on imported maize, as promised, will result in a 2 shillings decrease in flour prices, according to Kenyan millers. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya announced that the government will issue a directive suspending the levies that will lower the price of flour. According to the United Grain Millers Association, an umbrella organization for both small and large-scale millers, the move is insignificant and will have little impact on the consumers. The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority has handed down sanctions to 6 petroleum dealers for dumping exports in the local market. The 6 offered for sale super petrol or diesel meant for export between the months of April and June this year, against EPRA's regulations. During the quarter, the energy sector regulator says it conducted 5,276 tests in 1,191 petroleum sites, where 99.2% of the sites were found to be compliant to regulations relating to fuel adulterations and export dumping. The cost of living in the country has hit a 5-year high as June's inflation print comes in at 7.9% from 7.1% in May, according to the latest government statistics. The new data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics mirrors the outcome of higher food and fuel prices over recent months, which has left Kenyans with steeper price shocks as they purchase essential goods. In June, food prices led in the cost surge as items in the category posted a mean increase of 13.8% in cost per year over year. Safaricom's Chief Customer Business Officer Sylvia Mulinge is set to depart the telco this September to join MTN as its new CEO for Uganda. MTN Group, an indirect rival of Safaricom, which has its parent company Vodacom domiciled in South Africa, announced changes to its continental operations, which also sees the new CEO appointments in Cameroon and Rwanda. Mulinge is set to replace the current boss, who steps up to the group's senior management as the operations executive markets. For Spice Business, I'm Dennis Aseto.
Spice FM Business. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
Yes,
Spice FM, Nairobi.
City. City Muga. Just come up with a joke.
Because
all by yourself.
Just laughing alone.
No, I'm laughing alone because that's a weighty statement. It doesn't mean don't wake me up.
20 minutes to 10, Kenya's biggest conversation. It continues. Do you think the manifestos presented by Raila, Ruto, Wajakoya are achievable? Let's hear from you, 0719-012-600. What do you think? What do you make of these promises that are being made by all these presidential candidates? First call on the line. Papa in Kenya. Good morning.
Yes, Papa in Nakuru, Kenya, yes.
Nambo, namna gani?
Now, yangu salama Eric Latiff, vipi lakini hapo?
Salama kabisa.
Yes, now, I would want to punch holes on UDA. There's nothing like Kenya Kwanza. It is UDA. There's nothing, because when you go to the ballot, you'll find UDA. You won't see Kenya Kwanza.
Okay.
So I want to punch holes on their promises. Number one, if they promise that they want maybe to abolish, tariffs on phone calls, remember these are private businesses. The only thing they would do is maybe reduce taxes on those phone calls. But telling people that you'll make calls for free, that is total hogwash. And I don't think whether Kenyans are so gullible, we don't understand what's happening. That is, it's not workable.
Well, but you make a call over the internet. It's free if you have Wi-Fi.
Yes, it's free over the internet, yes. But how many people have them? My mother at home doesn't have a smartphone.
But even that's what he said. Alisema, every homestead that's connected to power, they're going to use the power lines infrastructure to have a data cable coming to your home.
That's okay. It's okay. But is it going to be free? There's nothing for free, my brother. There's nothing for free. Even Kenya Power we pay. Those are sort of hogwash. Thank you.
Thank you, Papa. Jack in Eldoret, good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Eric Ndu and the Wajakoya. Muga. Unajua sisi Muga and Wajakoya wanani confused.
Stop apologizing when you know very well you're not apologetic. Ati Pole is like saying I'm about to, but Pole anyway. Sorry. Endelea baba.
What I saw funny about yesterday, niliona that said that ata shut down SGR.
Yes.
Hiyo ni ujinga yenye imeomoka.
Why?
Because before hata mtu aongee kitu kama hiyo lazima ajisikilize kwanza. Alafu another thing, our brother from Kenya, inaitwa Kenya hiyo.
Kenya, yes.
Yes, hiyo UDS. Niliona these things are not new. Unaona? Things are not new. Zile laptops za watoto zilienda wapi? Where did they went? the stadiums in 2017, ile 6 months, where did they went? Yeah, if we could produce that answer, tunaweza ongea tukitoka hapo, because hii manifesto inaandikwa tu, unaona? Inaandikwa kwa ajili ya kusomwa. Unaona? Ni kwa ajili ya kusomwa tu, isikosekane kitu. Lakini ukiniambia manifesto, mutakula njaa yenu, kwa sababu saa hizi we have problems in Kenya. Unasikia, nilikuwa nasikia ati wamepunguza unga na 2 bob. So how can that even help mwananchi? Yo manifesto ni stories tu. So tuendelee kusikia story, hata afadhali Wajakoya na tu entertain kiasi.
Thank you Jack. Anthony Naivasha.
Yeah, hello guys.
Hello.
Yeah, actually what we are experiencing now, actually the political spectrum that is actually going on now. These stories we have been told since even I started knowing what is going on. I remember in 1992, the then regime actually told us that by the year 2000, every homestead will be having a running water. So, all this that these guys have been telling us, even now you can imagine they are facing the hardships that are going on in the world with the increase of fuel prices and food. Somebody is telling us when they take the government, everything will come down. And even in the US, fuel is going up. Sri Lanka, the government has failed; it's bankrupt. Everything is happening, and they are telling us that they are going to run to reduce this food stuff and the ways of living. Yeah, the cost of living. And they are lying to people. We want to hear them talk like Wajakoya. What are they going to do about corruption? Because corruption is the main cause of what we are facing now.
All right.
Yesterday when I was listening to Deputy President's manifesto, there was a psychophone who was shouting to the highest. I think those are the people we are talking about. Why are we? I don't know what to say, because politicians, I don't trust them. These days, I'm not even going to vote, because they have screwed this country. All these manifestos we have been having.
These are lies.
This country could be paradise by now.
Thank you, Anthony.
I'm telling you, politicians have taken us for a ride, and Kenyans should wake up, and we just need new blood in leadership, because these people who have been, they are just there to make their ends meet. Deals everywhere. They are the cartels and washers of this country.
Thank you, Anthony.
We can't even,
have a good day.
We can't even afford food, my friend.
Ole buana. Let's hear from Collins in Mombasa. Good morning.
Good morning, Latiff.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. These manifestos,
they
just utter small stuff to lure men in the street. Yeah, because nani ajui shida iko Kenya. But have you ever sat down as a Kenyan and think about how stupid tumekuwa since to gain independence? We are so stupid that a man can even stand and tell us that you are going to do this and this, which we know very well is impossible. The only possible if you guys are thinking on the same direction. But now, it is the mambo na siasa. Only akisaingia kule, then you'll only see him after. How stupid are we here? To still go to rallies and listen to what politicians want us to hear instead of what we want them to do for us. Oh, tutafanya hivi, tutafanya. Now Ruto is giving manifestos about high cost of living. It is in the government. He is the same person who can change. Yes, I was there. I did this. Now, can you trust me with the next government?
That's true.
You trust Latiff. Can you trust any politician with the issue of running your own state?
Trusting a politician is one of the hardest things to do.
We don't have leaders. We have political goons.
Thank you, Collins. Leaders. Thank you, Collins. Let me pick other callers. Ali in Garissa.
How are you, madam? Mr.
Mr. ako sawa. Madam pia ako hapa.
Eric Latifa, Muga, Madam Du, nimesalamia wote sana.
Tumepokea salamu, asante sana.
Hapa Garissa today the weather is very good, only that baridi inatupeleka mbio sana.
Sasa baridi ni degree ngapi hapo?
Hata sijui, lakini madam tunakauka sana.
Poleni Ali, poleni.
Sawa. Let me make 2 points quickly so that I give others to make their remarks.
Yes.
One, allow me to say this. Allow Dr. William Ruto to assume the president this time round. You know why?
Mm-hmm.
This man, at this value, he looks very committed to turning around the economy of this country. He is so passionate. I don't know. I want to give him a benefit of doubt because the manifesto he read yesterday before the whole nation will become a template we are going to hold him to account going forward.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when Ruto served in the Ministry of Education, Higher Education in 2007, 2008, and the agriculture, this guy, his track record is very impressive. So if he could do that in a small capacity as a minister, give him a benefit of doubt. Wacha apatio raisi tuone, tumwambie William Ruto, because atahitaji mula mingine. 2022 atahitaji mula mingine. So if he fails to implement this Hasra manifesto between now and 2027, so he will not stand a chance of getting re-elected. So he will do ways and means to make sure he implemented this manifesto so that he can get another chance to lead the country come 2027. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
Two, alafu Mr. Eric, hapa Garissa, bona wewe huiti hawa watu ambao wametusumbua na manifesto. Bring these people to this room. Hii ndio hapo ndio kuna watu wanabumbazwa.
Watu gani?
Hii room mimi nimeipenda sana. Leta hawa watu wakuletee ili manifesto wako nayo, uangalie, sisi tusikize kama wanasema ukweli ama wanasema uongo. Wacha kuleta watu wa Kiambu sijui wapi. Pia Garissa tunakusikiza, tunakuhitaji. Extend the invitation.
Tutawalete, asante.
Sawa.
Thank you very much, Ali. Have a lovely day. Babuli in Mombasa.
Vipi ndugu yangu, habari asubuhi huko?
Salama kabisa ndugu yangu, jambo.
Siti na Eric nani yote mnaendeleaje? Baridi vipi?
Baridi tele hapa.
Hapa kwetu mvua nyingi Mombasa, mvua nyingi sana.
Mvua ni baraka.
Mimi nilikuwa nataka kuongea kuhusu hii manifesto ya Jakoya. Yeye ameuza gunia ngapi za bangi hata angekuwa tajiri leo?
Saa hizi unajua bangi ni illegal bana.
Lakini sasa vile natuambia na hajapata nikaa ambayo yuko na hiyo shamba tayari. Anajua faida yake na anajua kuinvest, kupanda na kulima na kufanya kila kitu. Ni kama ambaye amejaribu.
Amefanya studies
gani? Na hizo degree zake zote ndo anakuja tuambia sisi bangi na uzo 3 million pa gunia. Sasa kitu nataka kumwambia hivi. Ile bangi kama ina faida na nchi. Jamaica leo ingekuwa the richest country in the world. Because bangi inapandwa mpaka nje ya nyumba hivi na watu wanavuta na karibu 30% ya hiyo nchi wote wandawazimu. Wanatuambia nini bwana? Wandawazimu ni 30% Jamaica. Na wengi hata wanashindwa hata na kununua chakula ya kula.
So muamini wewe?
Hiyo story bana, arudi nao kula litoka bana.
Thank you Babuli. Have a good day. Moha in Nairobi.
Hello. Morning guys.
Good morning Moha.
How are you guys doing?
We're very well, thank you.
You are asking people about manifestos that was released the other day. Do people even know which ward they reside in?
Yeah.
Let's just go there. CT.
Yes.
Tell these people, your colleagues in the office, that the people who are calling here do not even know which ward they are in.
Do you know what ward you are in?
Na wewe unajua, do you know the ward you are in?
Jamaa Dagoretti North huyu bana.
I know my ward.
What is what?
What's
your ward?
Dagoretti.
Okay.
So if you know your ward, why don't you give other people the benefit of doubt of knowing the ward they live in, because they actually live there?
When I asked this question, did you realize you guys laughed?
Yes, we laughed because it's actually humorous.
But it's not the humorous part. There's another reason. Please say
It's a possibility.
it is very high. Leave alone it just being a possibility. It is very high. They don't know even their own MCA. That is where they're supposed to start with that part first. Because what most people don't realize, when you vote for the president and you have an issue, you're not going to get to the president.
Your contact person is your MCA.
Try and find out who your MCA is.
Okay.
Another thing, there was a previous show. I don't know if it's yesterday or the day before yesterday. You guys were speaking to Duale, and he was talking about taking back port operations, blah blah blah. You kept asking him something. If they do not do what they are promising, and he kept dodging the question. Now that's a typical politician. That is a typical politician, not a leader. That is a politician. Because that is if this doesn't happen, what next? They tell you it will happen.
Yeah, you trust
Things
us.
don't work like that in life.
You trust us, it will happen.
No.
Anyway, Moha, let me pick other callers.
When you take your money to the bank, there are conditions under which they will keep your money.
Yep.
And you sign an agreement, a contract.
Yep.
If this happens, this happens. If this doesn't happen, this happens. In fact, there's an institution behind there that ensures that if they mess with your money, there's something that will happen to them. But our politicians tell you, you trust us. And I'm supposed to trust them. Nah, not happening.
Thank you, Moha. Good day. Dennis in Nyeri, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Morning, Dennis.
How are you doing, guys?
Well.
City and the Hound and the Malindi, you guys are doing great work.
Thank you, sir.
And indeed, I would like to concur with a few callers who called earlier. All these guys are just lying to us. You get 2 million mortgage to repay at 10K per month for 15 years. That is around 1.8 million. So basically, the lender is losing to around 200K per mortgage. We need these guys to come to the situation room, and then we give them real pressure. I mean, they lie on our eyes. Seriously, we need the situation room is the best thing that has happened in Kenya, and you allow people to really express themselves.
Santi, Dennis.
Thank you. And,
have a lovely day.
Allow them to come to the situation room. We give them real pressure.
Tuwapashe.
Mtu anakudanganya, unamuuliza tu swali. Thank you.
Thank you. Lydia in Parklands.
Good morning, SpiceFM.
Good morning, Lydia.
Good morning, Lydia.
Sue and Eric, thank you for the good debate. I wanted to say that Jacoye wants to promote Bangi. So that means if he wants to create drug addicts to attract money, this is a wrong attitude. Then...
Lydia, when he was here, we asked him, is he pushing for the legalization of smoking of marijuana? And he said, absolutely not. Not for smoking, but for medicinal and other purposes.
For commercial purposes.
Even then, internally, it is an addiction. And also now, William Ruto, post-election violence, the 2017 Nusumukate violence, his history, Hague is waiting for him. So, this bloodthirsty experience should stop. Then Raila, his boss again was involved in post-election violence. So Martha Karua has now made some changes. I heard Martha Karua in Parliament when she was an MP that somebody, when this bill was passed, somebody has secretly altered it. It shows that her brain is alive and she will sort things out legally. She knows her way. That is why it is good. Even Kibaki made mobile phones, computers tax-free to introduce them to schools. Nusumukate violence came and stopped all that.
Lydia,
Yes.
we hear you. Thank you. Have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Asante sana. Coming to the conclusion of the show today. So many people basically are saying, Manifesto,
No.
you're just doing it for show. I hear that, but I still insist that yes, what we have right now is not complete in terms of how it sounds, but we are moving from somewhere and we are heading somewhere. The fact that people are feeling the pressure of coming out to say, this is my plan for the country, my aspiration for what I would do if I was given the privilege to lead you, is one step. The next thing is we apply pressure like this and ask, don't just come and tell us what. Tell us the how.
How.
Tell us the when. It's also as important. If you don't tell us how and when, then...
Might as well be speaking to, the trees.
It's just stories. And we're used to stories. Hi, asante sana for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation this week. We'll be back on Monday, God willing. What happens from now through the weekend?
From now like this.
Mm.
So 10 o'clock, music, Sugar and Spice until 11. And then DJ Absolute joins you on Sugar and Spice until 2. And then Edward Quatch takes you on the Spice Drive and the adults in the room will join you until 10 p.m. And then tomorrow, 00 from 10 to 2. And then Jimmy from 2 to 7.
And Sunday?
Miriam will take you on in the afternoon from 2.
A lot of programming prepared for you throughout the weekend. Have a lovely one. We'll see you here bright and early on Monday morning. City, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Very good. It's now 10 o'clock.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.